Chapter 5198. The taboo sword ancestor, Tang Feng, slashed out a terrifying sword light while fighting Xue Higan. He wanted to drag the remaining 8 sub-immortals into the battle by himself. He knew very well that the others would definitely die if they couldn't withstand the attacks of the 8 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals. "I'm your opponent," Xue Higan roared. Tang Feng had underestimated him. He wanted to drag others into the battle while fighting with him. However, after the battle he felt more and more pressure. He felt that the other party's sword was endless and gradually he was at a disadvantage. It was unbelievable. Who was he? He was the top expert under the immortal path in the Nirvana universe, and he was ranked in the top 10 among the sub-immortals in the entire world. Apart from those freaks from the Yellow Sky race, he was almost invincible under the immortal path. But now, there was someone in this ruined universe who could suppress him. He roared and tried his best to turn the situation around, but it was useless. The 8 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals attacked together and blocked Tang Feng's sword light. "What an arrogant person. We'll kill you first." A Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal snorted. "Yes, we can get rid of this person first." Another person nodded. Those who could reach the Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal level were not ordinary people. They were all peerless geniuses when they were young and they were all arrogant. Now Lu Ming was attacking them while fighting Xue Higan, which made them very unhappy. Some of them changed their target and planned to join forces with Xue Higan to get rid of Tang Feng. Swish, swish. At the same time, 5 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals rushed into the battle between Tang Feng and Xue Higan and attacked Tang Feng. Xue Higan's face was gloomy, but he didn't refuse their help. He knew very well that he couldn't do anything to Tang Feng by himself, so he had to join forces with others. With the addition of 5 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals, the pressure on Tang Feng increased greatly. He could not help but slow down his attacks. There were still 3 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals who didn't move. Bam! One of them made a move, joining the battle group that was besieging Flying Phoenix. In this way, there were as many as 6 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals surrounding Fei Huang. No matter how powerful Fei Huang was, she was no match for them. After all, she was only an 8th Tribulation sub-immortal. She had undergone 1 tribulation less than the others. It was already heaven-defying for her to be able to take on 5 opponents at once. That was an extreme display of power. In a short period of time, one's battle prowess had been pushed to the extreme. As time passed, Flying Phoenix would definitely lose. At this moment, another 9th Tribulation sub-immortal joined the battle, and the balance was instantly broken. 2 sword lights slashed towards Fei Huang's face and the back of her head. Above his head, a pagoda came crashing down. Behind him, a long spear pierced towards him. A saber and a spear were aimed at Fei Huang's dantian. Fei Huang lightly shouted. Demonic chi soared into the sky, and a rain of flowers filled the sky. They turned into boundless sword light and slashed in all directions. At the same time, she waved her hands continuously, and countless palm imprints blasted out, shaking the universe and the sky. The power was so strong that even a 9th Tribulation sub-immortal would be shocked. If it was a one-on-one battle, she could instantly injure a 9th Tribulation sub-immortal. But after all, there were 6 of them. 5 of them were blocked, but a saber light broke through Fei Huang's defense and almost cut her in half. Fei Huang was sent flying. Her face was a little pale, and a terrifying wound had appeared on her chest. On the wound, there were countless tiny saber lights that were invisible to the naked eye, constantly destroying Fei Huang's body. Fei Huang circulated her forbidden origin power to get rid of these saber lights and quickly healed her injured body. "She's been hit by my extinction saber. It won't be so easy to recover. Let's completely destroy her in one go." The 9th Tribulation sub-immortal holding the saber shouted. His saber light pierced the sky and launched a crazy attack. The other 5 people did the same. Their terrifying attacks almost drowned Fei Huang. Fei Huang could only dodge with all her might. For a time it was difficult for her to fight back. The other 2 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals who had not attacked also attacked. One of them joined the battle and attacked the Green Bull. The other joined the battle and attacked the white-haired old woman of the Azure Divine Realm. The 2 of them were already no match for her. At this moment, it was completely one-sided. "Mo!" The Green Bull roared. One of its legs was cut off and blood stained the battlefield. The white-haired old woman's hair was disheveled. Her chest had been punched through. "Die." The experts besieging them attacked crazily. This time the Green Bull's head was cut off. Someone punched down and blasted the Green Bull's head. "No!" The Phoenix of the Devil race roared, wanting to help. However, she was already surrounded by 4 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals and was in danger. At this moment she was distracted and almost lost her head. The others were also powerless to help. It was too tragic. Although the people in the primitive universe had great battle prowess, there were too few of them. Facing too many experts, each of them was besieged by many experts. It was difficult for them to protect themselves, let alone rescue others. Damn it, Lu Song, Lu Ming and the others clenched their fists tightly. Their bodies trembled and their eyes were red. They hated that their cultivation was too low and they hated that they could not participate in the battle. I want to participate in the battle. I want to participate in the battle. Human sovereign broken sword, awaken and give me power. Lu Ming shouted and took out the human sovereign broken sword, hoping that it would awaken. Unfortunately, no matter how much power he injected, the human sovereign broken sword did not respond at all. At this moment, a bull's roar resounded in the universe. Although the green bull's head had been cut off, as long as his soul was not destroyed, he would not die. His head was reborn and his battle blood boiled. He suddenly rushed out and knocked away a ninth tribulation sub-immortal. The chest of the ninth tribulation sub-immortal collapsed and even his armor was shattered. His bones and flesh flew everywhere. He was severely injured. However, the attacks of the other two all landed on the green bull and tore his body into pieces. However, the green bull was still not dead and his body was quickly regenerating. The primitive universe will rise. Kill. I will kill all of you, the green bull roared and ignored the attacks of the others. He only stared at the injured person. Swish. The green bull turned into a beam of green light and rushed toward the injured ninth tribulation sub-immortal. The green light that filled the sky drowned that person. Come and save me. The terrified voice of the ninth tribulation sub-immortal came from the green light. How dare you, kill? The other two attacked the green bull with their ultimate attacks. That area had been completely destroyed. Boom. Then there was an earth-shattering explosion, followed by a mournful scream. The scream came from the injured ninth tribulation sub-immortal. That ninth tribulation sub-immortal was completely killed. However, the green bull also paid the price with his life. His soul had been torn apart and obliterated. Boom. The green light suddenly surged and the two ninth tribulation sub-immortals quickly retreated and withdrew from the green light. One of them was in tatters and had obviously been severely injured. If he's finally dead. So what if he's an immortal? He's still going to die. A ninth tribulation sub-immortal snorted. The green light that the green ox had transformed into quickly dissipated. In the end, only an illusory figure was left floating in the air. Green Bull. The Phoenix roared. Chapter 5199. The Phoenix roared, her voice full of anger and sorrow. She knew that Green Ox had fallen. This was just a phantom, a remnant mark of Green Ox. Goodbye, old friend. The phantom of Green Ox glanced at the Phoenix, then quickly dimmed and was about to disappear completely. I believe that the universe will rise again and return to its original prosperity. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see it. Successors, I'll leave the primitive universe to you. The Blue Ox's final voice reverberated through the universe. His phantom completely dissipated, vanishing from the world. At this moment, the universe shook and the heavenly river dimmed, as if it was mourning the fall of an immortal. Ah! The Phoenix roared and launched a crazy counterattack. Her wings were like heavenly blades, sending a ninth tribulation sub-immortal flying and vomiting blood. But she was only one person after all. She was attacked by others and was injured. The sky was filled with phoenix feathers. Everyone else in the Your-Wilds universe felt their blood boil as well, and the Your-Wilds demon folk roared with all their might. Human King's broken sword, wake up. Aren't you the sword of the Human King? Now that the universe is facing a critical moment, why don't you wake up and take me to fight? Lu Ming growled. Bus. This time the Human King's broken sword reacted. Sword come. Sword ancestor Tang Feng's long hair fluttered like a fiend god. With a roar, all the swords in the universe trembled as if they were on a pilgrimage. At this moment, as long as it was in the universe, no matter where it was, as long as it was a sword, it would tremble slightly. What's going on? Why is my battle sword acting strangely? Many outerverse powerhouses in various parts of the universe were shocked and all of them were trying to control their swords. Even the sub-immortals were like that. The broken sword in Lu Ming's hand trembled even more violently, then it flew out of his hand, broke the void, and instantly appeared in sword ancestor Tang Feng's hand. After the broken sword appeared in Tang Feng's hand, it erupted with a shocking aura and a terrifying sword light slashed out. Shui Bai, En and the others who were besieging him quickly retreated to avoid the sword light. A broken immortal weapon. Do you want the universe to be completely destroyed? Shui Bai, En's face was gloomy. At the same time, a sword appeared in his hand. It was also a broken immortal weapon. A terrifying aura emerged from the saber. Boom. The aura of the human king's broken sword collided with the aura of the battle saber. The universe rumbled. Everyone's expression changed. Even if it was a broken immortal weapon, if it was pushed to the limit, its power would still be terrifying. The broken great desolate universe might not be able to withstand it. Therefore, although a small number of people had brought broken immortal weapons along, such as Wang Gu of the Nether River Great Cosmos, they hadn't used them except to break the seal of the Azure Divine Realm because they were afraid of this. Umph. The sword ancestor snorted and swept out his sword, forcing the others to retreat. Then he turned into a sword light and rushed out of the encirclement. After he broke out of the encirclement, he rushed towards the Ashen Cyan Immortal Realm and landed on the highest mountain in the Ashen Cyan Immortal Realm. In an instant, Tang Feng's aura seemed to have fused together with the Azure Divine Realm. His aura suddenly grew stronger. Following that, a small pagoda appeared in Tang Feng's hand. It was the size of a thumb, as if it was cast from fine jade. Bang! Tang Feng clenched his fingers and the small pagoda was crushed. The next moment, a continent appeared out of thin air and rapidly grew in size. In the end, it merged with the Azure Divine Realm. There was a gap on this continent that was exactly the same as the gap on the edge of the Azure Divine Realm. It was perfectly glued together. A fragment of the heart of the universe. It's a fragment of the heart of the universe. He also has one in his hand, Lin Feng said. Many people shouted. The others were shocked. Tang Feng also had a fragment of the heart of the universe. At this moment he took out 2 fragments of the heart of the universe and merged them together. All the hearts of the universe have appeared. Lu Ming whispered. The people of the outerverse had obtained 2 fragments. Now Tang Feng took out one and the other was the Azure Divine Realm. The last fragment should be the Great Desolate Ring, which was in Lu Ming's hands. A total of 5 fragments were present. Boom. The 2 fragments of the heart of the universe merged, and the ancient aura it emitted became even stronger. Tang Feng's aura merged with the fragment of the heart of the universe and became even stronger. It was like a billowing smoke signal. He wants to knock on the immortal pass and break through to the immortal realm. A 9th tribulation sub-immortal of the outerverse exclaimed. This guy is crazy to knock on the immortal pass in the middle of a battle. There are only 2 fragments of the heart of the universe. It's not complete at all. The laws and order are chaotic. It's impossible for him to break through successfully. A 9th tribulation sub-immortal spoke one after another. How could it be so easy to knock on the immortal pass and become an immortal? Knocking on the immortal pass could be said to be more dangerous than the 9th level immortal tribulation. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many 9th level sub-immortals who were stuck at this step. In fact, in history, countless 9th level sub-immortals had fallen at this step and turned into ashes. Moreover, that was when the environment was perfect and they were fully prepared. Now, in an environment like the primitive universe, how could one knock on the immortal pass? It was impossible. Don't be careless. Stop him with all your strength. Shui Bian said. He didn't know why, but he instinctively felt danger from Tang Feng. He himself was a peerless genius among peerless geniuses. He knew that people at this level couldn't be measured by common sense. They could often turn the impossible into the possible and create miracles. Although the probability was very small, he still wanted to destroy it in the cradle. Shui Bian activated the broken immortal weapon and charged toward Tang Feng. Tang Feng waved the human king's broken sword, and the sword and saber clashed. The world rumbled and the universe shook. Fortunately, Tang Feng was standing on the fragment of the heart of the universe. At this moment, the 2 fragments of the heart of the universe had merged. Most of the power was absorbed by the heart of the universe, so it didn't cause the universe to shake. Suddenly, a figure appeared on the saber in Shui Bian's hand. It was indomitable and had a strong and incomparably domineering aura. It was the figure of the previous owner of the saber. This voice stretched out a big hand and grabbed toward Tang Feng. However, at this moment, a figure also appeared on the human king's broken sword. Father. The junior human king roared. This figure was exactly the same as the human king's physical body. It was the human king Shen Yuan. However, this wasn't the will left behind by the human king Shen Yuan. It was just the power of the human king's sword that had awakened. Because it often accompanied the human king by Shen Yuan's side, its form was the same as the human king's. The 2 figures collided in the air. The 2 broken immortal weapons were in a deadlock, resisting each other. Kill. Stop him from breaking through. Shui Bian charged toward Tang Feng. The other 5 9th tribulation sub-immortals also charged toward Tang Feng to stop him from breaking through. Get lost. Tang Feng shouted coldly. He held his sword and slashed out a shocking sword chi, sweeping away Shui Bian and the other 5 experts. Shui Bian was very strong, not much weaker than Tang Feng. He broke through the layers of sword chi and charged toward Tang Feng. The 6 experts besieged Tang Feng, blocking his rising aura. Join us. The 2 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals who had besieged the Green Bull previously also charged toward Tang Feng. It became 8 experts besieging Tang Feng. Chapter 5200. 8 great experts were besieging Tang Feng. With Shui Higan around, Tang Feng's breakthrough was blocked. It was too far-fetched to fight 8 experts and Shui Higan alone. It would be difficult for him to even protect himself, let alone break through. After a few moves, Tang Feng was injured by Shui Higan, and his body was covered in blood. In fact, Tang Feng's situation was not the worst. The others were in a worse situation. Everyone was injured and the situation was quite bad. Stop them. You must stop them and let Tang Feng break through. Only by breaking through and becoming an immortal will the primitive universe have hope. Fei Huang shouted and fought with all her strength, wanting to kill Tang Feng. She was almost at Dao transformation. Her body was covered in blood and her origin energy was boiling. She repelled the attacks of 2 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals in succession. In the end, she paid a certain price and finally rushed out of the encirclement. She approached Tang Feng and blocked the 2 for him. On the other side, the junior human king roared and ignored his defense. He used his human king body to block the attacks of the other party. He also rushed out of the encirclement and approached Tang Feng, wanting to stop the others for Tang Feng. The 3 primogenitors of the Azure Divine Realm and the Phoenix were unable to break out of the encirclement. They were in a precarious situation and could follow in the footsteps of the Azure Ox at any time. Unfortunately, they were too few in number. Fei Huang and the junior human king approached Tang Feng, and the dozen Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals who were besieging them also rushed over. They were still in a very passive situation. I want to kill the enemy. Lu Song, Yao Yi and the others shouted. They could not wait to join the battle. Lu Ming's blood was boiling. His battle blood was burning. At this moment, the blood crystal in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness suddenly emitted a bright light. Then it exploded with a bang and turned into a whistling energy that merged into Lu Ming's body. This energy was too strong. A layer of blood-red light floated on the surface of Lu Ming's body. At the same time, a voice sounded in Lu Ming's mind. For the primitive universe, for the human race, I will die on the battlefield. Now, I will lend my remaining power and soul power to you. Kill. As the voice fell, Lu Ming felt that his soul was wrapped by a layer of powerful soul power. The Lord of the Taishang Immortal Dynasty. Lu Ming understood that this was the Lord of the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty. In the Grand Supreme Immortal capital, the Emperor of the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty refined a great enemy and left behind a blood crystal for himself. Within the blood crystal, there was even a strand of the remnant soul of the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty's Emperor. Lu Ming once guessed that the Emperor of the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty might be able to borrow this opportunity to be reborn. But now, the ruler of the Taishang Immortal Dynasty destroyed his own blood crystal, lending his strength to Lu Ming, wanting to participate in the war. He had cut off all his escape routes. In an instant, Lu Ming understood this point. His heart was filled with sorrow and anger. Kill? Lu Ming roared and took a step forward. The void directly exploded. In the next moment, Lu Ming directly appeared in the battlefield of the 9 Tribulation sub-immortals. He threw a punch at a 9th Tribulation sub-immortal who was besieging Thoughtless Ancestor. This was a 9th Tribulation sub-immortal from the Holy Light Cosmos. This punch was filled with incomparably terrifying power. Lu Ming felt that his punch could shatter and obliterate everything. This was the remnant power of the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty's Emperor. What kind of person was the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty's Emperor? At his peak, he was the king of the immortal Tao. Even the blood crystal he left behind was extremely terrifying. The 9th Tribulation sub-immortal from the Holy Light Cosmos was shocked. How could he care about attacking Thoughtless Ancestor? He resisted with all his strength. Heavenly Profound Sacred Armor, 10,000 Laws Sacred Sword. That person roared madly as a huge armor condensed on his body, tightly wrapping around his body. At the same time, it condensed a terrifying sword gleam and slashed toward Lu Ming. This wasn't in Genesis art, but a quasi-immortal art. A quasi-immortal art was generally born from an immortal art. It was an extension of an immortal art. Its power was naturally far inferior to an immortal art, but it was much stronger than in Genesis art. There were also outstanding people who evolved their own Genesis art and promoted it to a quasi-immortal art. Of course, such situations were very rare. Throughout history it was rare. However, such quasi-immortal arts were usually extremely powerful and most suited to the user. The power they could unleash was much stronger than a quasi-immortal art that was born from an immortal art. The ninth tribulation sub-immortal from the holy light cosmos naturally didn't have such talent. His quasi-immortal art was born from an immortal art of an important person in the holy light cosmos, but it was still terrifyingly powerful. But now it couldn't block Lu Ming's punch. Lu Ming's fist was wrapped in a layer of blood-red light. With one punch, the sacred sword condensed by the ninth tribulation sub-immortal from the holy light cosmos was directly shattered. The fist didn't stop and continued to bombard the opponent's armor. Boom. The armor shook violently and dense cracks appeared on it. In the end it exploded with a bang. The ninth tribulation sub-immortal from the holy light cosmos groaned and retreated hundreds of thousands of miles. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood and his face paled. One could see that his chest had caved in. The fist force had almost penetrated it. The ninth tribulation sub-immortal scanned Lu Ming with his spiritual sense and discovered that Lu Ming was only at the origin realm, but there was a terrifying power on him. Be careful. The power of an expert is attached to him, borrowing his strength to attack. Someone roared. These people were all ninth tribulation sub-immortals, so they naturally saw through Lu Ming's strength with a single glance. However, Lu Ming didn't stop there. He continued to attack the ninth tribulation sub-immortal from the holy light cosmos. Lu Ming had already injured the ninth tribulation sub-immortal with a single punch. Now was a good opportunity. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming swung his fists and punched continuously. In an instant he had sent out over 100 punches. At this moment he felt that he had endless power that he needed to vent. Therefore he didn't hold back at all. Every punch contained his full strength. Over 100 punches directly drowned the ninth tribulation sub-immortal. Boom. In the end, the ninth tribulation sub-immortal exploded in the sky. However, he didn't die. A ray of light wrapped around his broken body and fled into the distance before condensing again. He didn't die even after that. Lu Ming's face sank. He only understood how terrifying a ninth tribulation sub-immortal was after fighting for real. Their vitality was too strong, as if they had an undying body. Even when their bodies exploded and their souls were about to be annihilated, they still didn't die. It was no wonder that since the start of the battle, only Azure Ox managed to pull one ninth tribulation sub-immortal away with its life and sword ancestor Tang Feng managed to kill one. Apart from that, no other ninth tribulation sub-immortal had died. Such an existence had undergone the ninth tribulation sub-immortal tribulation and had tempered themselves to become extremely powerful. If even the ninth tribulation sub-immortal tribulation couldn't kill him, just how strong was his vitality? Although the ninth tribulation sub-immortal didn't die, he was still heavily injured. His aura was weak and he would not be able to participate in the battle for a while. The ninth tribulation sub-immortal also knew his own situation. He frantically retreated, wanting to leave the battlefield. Lu Ming didn't give chase. If he focused on chasing this person he would most likely be able to kill him in the end, but that would waste a lot of time. The others were in a very bad situation. They could follow in Azure Ox's footsteps at any time. He had to help the others first. Chapter 5201. Whoosh. These thoughts flashed in Lu Ming's mind and he made a decision in an instant. His figure did not stop at all. With a turn he charged toward another battlefield. The battlefield of the other two primogenitors in the Azure Divine Realm. The two progenitors had already regrouped, but the experts who had besieged them had also gathered. They were in a precarious situation. They were heavily injured, and it wouldn't be long before they followed in Azure Ox's footsteps. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming punched crazily as soon as he arrived. The violent fist force exploded the void and charged towards a ninth tribulation sub-immortal. This ninth tribulation sub-immortal also coughed up blood and retreated with a pale face. In the distance, Lu Song, Yao Yi and the others were dumbfounded. They couldn't understand how Lu Ming, who was originally with them, could suddenly erupt with such powerful strength and injure two ninth tribulation sub-immortals consecutively. But following that they were excited. Great! Seeing Lu Ming injure the second ninth tribulation sub-immortal, Lu Song and the others shouted excitedly. They couldn't wait to charge into the battlefield like Lu Ming. Don't be defeated by him one by one. Join forces to deal with him. A ninth tribulation sub-immortal from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos shouted and charged towards Lu Ming. To be precise, it was two ninth tribulation sub-immortals. There were originally three ninth tribulation sub-immortals from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos who had joined forces to kill the Green Ox. One of them was killed by the Green Ox, and the other was severely injured. The remaining one, who had originally participated in the besieging of Tang Feng, was now charging towards Lu Ming with another expert. Two beams of terrifying sword gleams slashed toward Lu Ming as if they were splitting the sky and the earth. Lu Ming punched and shattered the two sword lights. He faced the two experts from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. But from another direction, another attack was launched towards Lu Ming. It was an expert who was besieging the phoenix of the demon race. This person abandoned the phoenix and charged towards Lu Ming. The three experts pounced towards Lu Ming like lightning. Lu Ming stopped and brandished his fists to bombard them. His fist energy weaved unhindered as he fought against the three experts. In a battle of this level, Lu Ming's Genesis techniques were naturally useless, and he had to rely on brute force. Lu Ming relied on brute force and crazily swung his fists to fight against the three experts. Unexpectedly, he still had the upper hand. However, this was the best he could do. The three masters cooperated with each other to disperse Lu Ming's strength. Lu Ming wanted to defeat them, but he couldn't do it in a short time. However, with Lu Ming participating in the battle, the pressure on the others lessened slightly. Lu Ming had injured two Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals the moment he attacked. These two Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals had retreated from the battlefield to treat their injuries. This attracted another three Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals. Whether it was the three primogenitors of the Azure Divine Realm, the Demon Phoenix, Tang Feng, Fei Huang, or the Little Human King, the pressure was slightly reduced. Tang Feng stood on the two fragments of the heart of the universe. His aura fused with them and his aura rose once again. He wanted to knock on the immortal pass here and break through to the immortal realm. But at this moment, the new continent formed by the fusion of the two fragments of the heart of the universe emitted a formless energy that filled the entire primitive universe. The entire primitive universe could feel it, especially the fragments of the continent. They trembled slightly and resonated with it. On the other side of the primitive universe, far away from the Azure Divine Realm, in an ancient ruin, a group of experts was stationed here. They were from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos and were temporarily stationed here. Dan Ying and Dan Xiong were both here. After obtaining a fragment of the heart of the universe, Dan Ying had been in seclusion here. He hoped to completely refine the fragment of the heart of the universe and fuse with it as soon as possible. With Dan Ying's cultivation, it wasn't that easy to completely refine a fragment of the heart of the universe. It would take a long time. Suddenly, Dan Ying's fragment of the heart of the universe trembled violently. What's going on? Why is the fragment of the heart of the universe suddenly trembling violently? Dan Ying held a bracelet, and his expression changed drastically. The Jade Clear Great Cosmos had used an array formation to refine a fragment of the heart of the universe into a spatial treasure. It was this bracelet. Buzz buzz. The bracelet shone and trembled more and more violently. Dan Ying seemed to be unable to control it. What's going on? Dan Xiong rushed over and asked. I don't know. I feel like I can't control it and it's about to fly away. Dan Xiong's expression turned ugly. At this moment, figures were constantly arriving here. They were all experts from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos, and there was no lack of subimmortals. Only a portion of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos had gone to the Azure Divine Realm. There were still many experts left here. After all, the fragment of the heart of the universe in Dan Ying's hands hadn't been completely refined. He was also worried that others would secretly attack him. Crack. At this moment, numerous cracks appeared on the bracelet before it exploded with a loud bang. A fragment of the heart of the universe floated out and rapidly grew in size. The fragment of the heart of the universe broke free from Dan Ying's control. It trembled slightly and the void collapsed. It was about to break through the void and escape. The fragment of the heart of the universe wants to escape. Stop it. Stop it quickly. Dan Ying shouted. There was no need for him to shout. The subimmortal experts of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos had already made their moves. Layers of power struck out, trying to imprison the fragment of the heart of the universe. However, the fragment of the heart of the universe shook and broke free from these forces. It broke through the void and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Ah, my fragment of the heart of the universe, my fragment of the heart of the universe, get it back for me? Dan Ying let out a hysterical roar. His mentality had completely collapsed. The fragment of the heart of the universe was the foundation of his Tao. With the help of the latest fragment of the universe, not only would his talent and potential increase greatly, but he would also be able to quickly pass the 9-stage immortal tribulation and achieve the immortal Tao. He might even be able to use this to become the king of the immortal Tao. The king of the immortal Tao was also known as the immortal king. The king of the immortals. Even in the entire universe C, the immortal king was the top expert and the overlord of a region. Many great cosmoses didn't even have immortals, let alone immortal kings. In the Jade Clear Great Cosmos, the immortal king was the top figure and there weren't many of them. Other than his big brother, Dan Xiong, who would dare to say that they could definitely step into this realm. With his talent, he might not even have a 100% chance of becoming an immortal, let alone an immortal king. There was absolutely no hope. However, there was hope with the fragment of the heart of the universe of the primitive universe. But now this hope was gone. It had escaped from his hands. How could he not go crazy? Chase. The sub-immortals of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos broke through the void and chased after it. However, there was no trace of the fragment of the heart of the universe. The same situation was happening on the other side of the universe. In the Een-world skeletal Great Cosmos, there was also a prodigy who had obtained a fragment of the heart of the universe. However, at this moment, this fragment of the heart of the universe had also escaped and broke through the void. The Azure Divine Realm. Boom. Boom. The void exploded. Two continents suddenly appeared and merged with the continent under Tang Feng's feet. These two continents that suddenly appeared were naturally the two fragments of the heart of the universe that Dan Ing and the others had obtained. It's the fragment of the heart of the universe. Damn it. The experts of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos and Skeletal Great Cosmos shouted angrily. Chapter 5202. The experts of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos and the Bone Great Cosmos had ugly expressions. The fragment of the heart of the universe that should have belonged to them had actually appeared here. Clearly it had been lured here. Tang Feng's aura had merged with the two fragments of the heart of the universe. He wanted to break through to the immortal realm, so he had triggered the heart of the universe and attracted the other two fragments. The four fragments of the heart of the universe merged with Tang Feng's aura, causing his aura to surge again. Stop him. Shuihigan shouted and attacked crazily. Saber light slashed at Tang Feng to prevent him from breaking through. There are only four fragments of the heart of the universe. The laws of order are incomplete. He can't break through, someone said. They weren't afraid that Tang Feng could break through. It wasn't that easy to break through the immortal realm and become an immortal. Even in a complete environment, there was a slim chance of survival. The fusion of the four fragments of the heart of the universe was also incomplete. It was impossible to break through successfully. Sure enough, Tang Feng's aura seemed to be obstructed when it rose to a certain height. The complete heart of the universe and the Chaos Ring. Qiuqiu, take out the Chaos Ring. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu's stomach formed a space of its own that isolated the outside world. The Chaos Ring didn't fly out by itself. Good. The Chaos Ring acted strangely just now, but I suppressed it. I see. Qiuqiu shouted and opened its mouth. The Chaos Ring flew out from inside. As soon as it flew out, it quickly flew towards Tang Feng. Halfway through, the Chaos Ring cracked and the continent inside emerged, merging with the heart of the universe under Tang Feng's feet. The five fragments of the heart of the universe merged and the complete heart of the universe reappeared. It is indeed the heart of the universe. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He had long suspected that the Chaos Ring was a heart of the universe. In order to avoid being deduced by the Almighty of the Outerverse, he had already cleared out the treasures in the heart of the universe and put them in his storage ring or Taishang Immortal City. He had once taken away a piece of the stellar sky continent and released it long ago. The great desolate ring was already empty. The five fragments of the universe merged and the complete heart of the universe reappeared. Boundless laws of order permeated the entire desolate universe. These laws of order couldn't be seen, but they were like invisible threads. With the heart of the universe as the core, they spread across the entire universe and connected with all the continent fragments in the universe. At this moment, countless fragments of continents in the desolate universe were glowing and vibrating before flying in the direction of the universe core. At this moment, all the living beings in the primitive universe felt a little different. They felt like they were about to merge with the heaven and earth. They felt like they could clearly capture the rules and order of the universe. Their minds also became much clearer. Many things that they couldn't comprehend in the past suddenly became enlightened. The three primogenitors of the Tsangqing divine realm, the monster race overlords, and all the origins and subimmortals of the Tsangqing divine realm were overjoyed. How many years had it been? How many years had it been? The complete cosmic core had finally reappeared. This time, as long as they could get through this hurdle and protect the heart of the universe, the primitive universe would have hope of rising again. He would risk his life to protect the heart of the universe. Everyone in the primitive universe roared in their hearts, and then they fought back crazily. Boom. When the complete heart of the universe reappeared, Tang Feng's aura, which had been obstructed, rose again. Open for me. Tang Feng roared. An ancient door seemed to have appeared in his body. The door was tightly shut. At this moment, a terrifying sword light rushed out of Tang Feng's body and bombarded the ancient door. Boom. The door shook violently, but it was still tightly shut. Tang Feng seemed to have suffered some backlash. He staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, his eyes were still bright. He roared again, and an even more shocking sword light rushed out and slashed the door again, knocking on the Immortal Pass. This door was the Immortal Pass. As long as one knocked on the Immortal Pass and broke through this door, they could leap up and achieve transcendence. They could prove their Tao and become an immortal, becoming another kind of life form. However, knocking on the Immortal Pass was very dangerous. Every strike would cause a backlash from the Immortal Pass and one would die. Boom. Tang Feng's second strike landed on the door, and the door shook even more violently. The door looked like it was made of stone. At this moment, it seemed like stone chips and gravel were flying everywhere. The expressions of all the ninth tribulation subimmortals in the outerverse changed drastically. This was a sign of breaking through the Immortal Pass. How was this possible? The 5 universe core fragments had just fused, and the laws of order were not perfect yet. This required a process and a certain amount of time before the primitive universe could transform into a complete great universe, which was suitable for breaking through and becoming an immortal. But now it had just been fused. In theory, it was still impossible for him to become an immortal. Moreover, he was still fighting with them. How could he have the strength to knock on the Immortal Pass? However, Tang Feng's aura was too strong. He might really succeed. Stop him. Once he succeeds, we will all die. He is now knocking on the Immortal Pass. Most of his power is focused on the Immortal Pass. He can't stop us. Take the opportunity to kill him. Dozens of ninth tribulation subimmortals roared and attacked crazily. Tang Feng was hit by a palm print. His body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The main reason was that there were too many experts. More than half of the ninth tribulation subimmortals were besieging Tang Feng. Get lost. The junior human king roared. His body became as huge as a star. His fists kept bombarding. He blocked 8 ninth tribulation subimmortals alone. His fists were harder than ninth tribulation subimmortal weapons. However, these subimmortals were skilled in soul attacks. The junior human king's body trembled. His soul felt like it was being torn apart. Fei Huang also attacked with all her might. She blocked 5 or 6 ninth tribulation subimmortals. However, this was already the limit. There were still 5 or 6 ninth tribulation subimmortals attacking Tang Feng, including Shuehigan. The one who posed the greatest threat to Tang Feng was Shuehigan. Tang Feng's body glowed. Sword chi seeped out of every pore on his body, forming shields of sword chi around him. They had astonishing defensive power, but they were broken by Shuehigan every time. Since the experts from the Nether River Great Cosmos and the Holy Light Great Cosmos arrived, there were now 39 ninth tribulation subimmortals from the outerverse. Among them, one was killed by Azure Ox and the other was killed by Tang Feng. 37 of them were still alive. Among these 37, one was severely injured by Tang Feng's sword. 2 were injured by the junior human king and 2 were injured by Lu Ming. These 5 people were hiding in the distance to heal their injuries. There were still 32 ninth tribulation subimmortals participating in the battle. 3 were besieging the thoughtless progenitor, 3 were besieging the demon phoenix, 5 were besieging the 2 incomplete immortals from the Azure Godly Realm, and 3 were besieging Lu Ming. There were still 18 ninth tribulation subimmortals stopping Tang Feng. Chapter 5203. It was impossible to stop 18 ninth tribulation subimmortals with just Fei Huang and the little human king. Boom. Boom. Tang Feng was hit continuously. He staggered and spat out blood, unable to use the third sword to knock the immortal gate. Get lost. Tang Feng shouted and slashed at Shuehigan with all his strength. Shuehigan blocked the attack with his saber and quickly retreated, but the next moment he attacked again. Shuehigan's strength was not much weaker than Tang Feng's. With Tang Feng's strength he could not hurt him at all. I have to stop Shuehigan to let the sword ancestor break through, but I'm afraid I can't stop Shuehigan with my strength. What should I do? Lu Ming thought quickly as he fought the 3 experts. There was only one person who could stop Shuehigan, and that was the little human king. Shuehigan was not good at soul attacks, and the little human king could use his strong body to stop Shuehigan. But without the little human king, who could stop the 8 9 tribulation subimmortals? I don't care. I'll go all out. Lu Ming roared in his heart. He ignored his defense and attacked one of them with all his strength. Boom. The man was sent flying, but Lu Ming was hit as well. The sanguine glow on his body dimmed. There was even a terrifying force that struck the sanguine glow in Lu Ming. Fortunately, most of the power had been weakened by the sanguine light. The power that landed on Lu Ming's body was less than 1%. Even so, Lu Ming was still injured and he vomited blood. The power of a nine-tribulation sub-immortal was too terrifying. If not for the bloody light, Lu Ming would have been turned into ashes. In this way, Lu Ming rushed out of the encirclement of the three and charged toward the little human king. Before he arrived, he punched continuously with both fists. Hundreds of punches were about to drown the 8 experts. "Senior, go and stop Shuehagen. Leave these people to me." Lu Ming transmitted his voice to the little human king. "Leave them to you?" The little human king hesitated. He could see that Lu Ming was only relying on external forces, and he definitely could not stop so many nine-tribulation sub-immortals. But did he have a choice now? He was the only one who could stop Shuehagen. Only by blocking Shuebai, and would Tang Feng have a chance to open the immortal gate and become an immortal. Scram! The little human king shouted loudly. He didn't care about defense and charged forward with his physical body. Clang! He suddenly threw a punch at a battle sword. The battle sword was a ninth tribulation quasi-immortal armament, and it was covered in cracks. The sword's master rapidly retreated. The other punch also sent a ninth tribulation sub-immortal retreating. Due to Lu Ming's interference, these 8 ninth tribulation sub-immortals were distracted and allowed the junior human king to break out of the encirclement with his powerful physical body. The junior human king charged at Shuehagen. "Brat, your opponent is me." Junior human monarch's iron fist was like a huge meteorite as it smashed toward Shuehagen. Shuebai, and had no choice but to concentrate and fight against the little human king. Break! Tang Feng took this opportunity to release another sword strike, directly breaking through the immortal pass. Boom! The immortal pass trembled and even more rubble flew out. One could see that the gate of the immortal pass had been slashed into a crater. If this continued, there was a real possibility that it would be broken. Kill? Don't let him succeed. The ninth tribulation sub-immortals of the outer verse crazily attacked Tang Feng. Tang Feng's protective sword shield dimmed, and there were several terrifying wounds on his body. Lu Ming tried his best to stop these ninth tribulation sub-immortals, but it was too difficult. How could he block the 8 ninth tribulation sub-immortals who were originally besieging the junior human king, the 3 who were originally besieging him, and the few who were originally attacking Tang Feng? Instead, he was hit, and his bloody light trembled non-stop. "Brat, I'll kill you first." Many ninth tribulation sub-immortals joined forces to besiege Lu Ming. Lu Ming roared and exerted his strength to the extreme, but in the end he could only barely hold back 5 ninth tribulation sub-immortals. The other experts charged at Tang Feng together. If this continued, Tang Feng would not be able to break through. Boom! At this moment, the void exploded and a flaming sword slashed out, sending an expert who was charging at Tang Feng flying. Then the sword flashed and slashed at the others. A figure appeared, shrouded in flames and holding a flaming sword with a shocking aura. A remnant immortal. Another remnant immortal. It's the quasi-immortal tribe. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this person was from the quasi-immortal tribe. Could it be the ancestor of the quasi-immortal tribe? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had once heard Song Qiong mention that there was a perfected immortal ancestor in the quasi-immortal tribe. Back then, when they were fighting for the immortal slough in the Purple Heaven Grotto Heaven, Song Qiong finally relied on an immortal imprint to successfully seize a type of immortal slough. However, the ancestor of the quasi-immortal tribe had already fallen from the immortal Dao realm, just like the ancestor of the Tsongqing divine realm. "Song Lin, it's you. You're actually not dead yet." Ancestor Wu Nian cried out in surprise. "You're not dead yet, how can I die first?" Song Lin replied. "The quasi-immortal tribe has always been greedy for life and afraid of death. It's normal for them to survive." Phoenix of the demon race said coldly, as if she was not interested in the quasi-immortal tribe. The quasi-immortal tribe was actually neither the demon race nor the human race. During the prehistoric continent, apart from the human race, the demon race, and the Wu people, there were actually many other races. It was just that they weren't as powerful as the 3 races, and the quasi-immortal tribe was one of them. Today, for the sake of the prehistoric universe and my descendants, I'm going all out. Fight. The ancestor of the quasi-immortal tribe roared. He ignored Phoenix's sarcasm and attacked with all his strength, blocking the 3 ninth tribulation quasi-immortals. However, it could be seen that Song Lin's battle strength was inferior to ancestor Wu Nian and Phoenix. He was barely able to fight against the 3 ninth tribulation quasi-immortals and was retreating step by step after a few moves. How many of the remaining evils of the prehistoric universe have come out? Today we'll eliminate them all. The experts of the Great Bone Cosmos shouted and attacked with all their strength. Clearly, the Ninth Tribulation quasi-immortals of the Outerverse were also going all out. They no longer held back and used their trump cards. Because once Tang Feng became an immortal, he would definitely not let them off. Although Fei Huang, Junior Human King, Lu Ming, and Tsang Lin were blocking with all their strength, they still couldn't block everyone. There were still 7 people besieging Tang Feng. What was more terrifying was that the 5 Ninth Tribulation quasi-immortals who were recuperating outside the battlefield had stabilized their injuries and returned to the battlefield. They didn't attack the others and surrounded Tang Feng immediately. They knew very well that as long as they killed Tang Feng, the others would be easy to deal with. In this way 12 people besieged Tang Feng. Bang! Tang Feng was in the middle of knocking on the Immortal Pass, and his body was directly torn apart while he was distracted. Although he immediately reformed, his aura was clearly weaker than before. Everyone's heart sank. If this continued, Tang Feng would definitely not be able to break through the Immortal Pass. If they couldn't become immortals, they would definitely not be able to keep the core of the universe. Fight. Let's die together. The origins and quasi-immortals of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were all going all out. Boom, boom, boom. Many origins powerhouses rushed out and then their bodies exploded. Self-destruction. Yes. Many origins in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm self-destructed their origin roots. Chapter 5204. The self-destruction of the origin root, compressed to the extreme, instantly erupted. Even a sub-immortal couldn't ignore it. Moreover, it was the self-destruction of multiple origin roots. The terrifying energy surged, forcing the sub-immortals of the Outerverse to retreat. In this way, the sub-immortals of the Tsangqing Divine Realm and the demon race seized the opportunity to rush out of the encirclement and toward the battlefield where Tang Feng was. "You're courting death." A Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal shouted coldly. The highest cultivation level of these sub-immortals was only an 8th Tribulation sub-immortal, and there weren't many of them. The others were even weaker and wanted to stop them. "Let's die together." The sub-immortals of the Tsangqing Divine Realm and the sub-immortals of the demon race were crazy. Their bodies emitted dazzling light as their bodies swelled. Boom. In an instant, 5 sub-immortals self-destructed. The self-destruction of the sub-immortals instantly erupted their origin root, origin power, physical body, and soul, forming the most terrifying power. The self-destruction of a sub-immortal was absolutely terrifying. Their essence, energy, and spirit turned into fireworks that bloomed with brilliant light. Even a Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal couldn't ignore it. 5 extremely powerful forces swept out, and the Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals surrounding Tang Feng were all pushed back. Tang Feng roared, his voice filled with grief and indignation. He knew very well that these sub-immortals sacrificed themselves to buy him some time to knock on the Immortal Pass. This was the time that these sub-immortals bought for him. He definitely couldn't miss it. His essence, energy, and spirit erupted. Another sword chi soared into the sky and stood above the Immortal Pass. This time, a large piece of rock was cut off from the Immortal Pass. One could see a pit in the middle. Kill. The 12 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals charged back. However, another 5 sub-immortals of the Tsangqing Divine Realm and the demon race rushed over and self-destructed together. The energy formed by the self-destruction sent the 12 sub-immortals flying again. Damn it. Lu Ming, Fei Huang, the Little Human King, the 3 primogenitors of the Tsangqing Divine Realm, the Phoenix of the demon race, and the others were all furious. They could only watch as these sub-immortals self-destructed one by one and died in front of them. It was tragic and tragic. They felt a deep sense of helplessness. Then monstrous killing intent. Kill, kill, kill. They fought madly, ignoring their injuries and dangers. This was also a result of the battle. A Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal was blasted apart, his body torn apart. However, they all paid a price. Their bodies were bathed in blood, their injuries even more serious. Fei Huang's face was pale. Several parts of her body had been pierced through. She was relying on her powerful life force to stubbornly hold on. The demonic phoenix's injuries were even more severe. Its body had been torn apart 3 times, but each time, it would burn with phoenix flames and regenerate with the power of nirvanic rebirth to continue fighting. The 3 progenitors were heavily injured and on the verge of death. The 2 weaker progenitors almost died several times. The Junior Human King and Tsang Lin were in similar situations. Tsang Lin was covered in blood, both his and his enemies. The Junior Human King's physical body was unparalleled, but if one could observe his soul through his physical body, they would see that his soul was full of cracks, like porcelain that could shatter at any time. Injuries to one's soul were much more difficult to heal than injuries to one's physical body. Only Lu Ming was slightly better off. With a layer of bloody light protecting his body, although he was also injured, it was still within his tolerance range. Power. I need power. I'm still too weak, Lu Ming growled. The blood crystal left by the Lord of the Taishang Immortal City had given him an extremely powerful power that was far beyond that of an ordinary Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal. However, he didn't know how to use it. His cultivation level was too far away from that of a Ninth Tribulation sub-immortal. His Genesis arts couldn't support such a powerful force. Therefore he could only fight with brute force. This way he wouldn't be able to unleash the power of the blood crystal. How could he use this powerful force effectively? Lu Ming had no idea. Tang Feng continued to seize this rare opportunity to knock on the immortal pass again. He raised his essence, chi and spirit to the peak and slashed out a stunning sword attack. Crack. This time a crack actually appeared on the immortal pass. A supreme aura seemed to spread out from the crack, eternal and immortal. The expressions of all the Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals in the Outerverse changed drastically. Is he going to succeed? You pieces of trash. Why aren't you stopping him? When he breaks through, all of you will die, Shuehigan roared and attacked with all his strength. Unfortunately, he wasn't good at soul attacks and was firmly entangled by the Junior Human King. Shuehigan was strong, but the Junior Human King's body was the body of a human king, which could restrain him. The other Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals in the Outerverse didn't look good. No one would be happy to be called a piece of trash. However, they also knew that this wasn't the time to argue with Shuehigan. They had to stop Tang Feng. The 12 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals besieging Tang Feng emitted a dazzling light. They were really going all out and attacking Tang Feng. Not only that, but the experts fighting against Fei Huang, Lu Ming, and the 3 primogenitors, all the Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals abandoned their opponents and wanted to kill Tang Feng. Stop right there. Your opponent is me. The 3 primogenitors, Fei Huang, and the others tried their best to stop him. However, they were at a disadvantage and the other side had many experts. How could they stop them? One by one the experts attacked Tang Feng. Explode. This time, a total of 10 sub-immortals soared into the sky and exploded into dazzling lights. Among these 10 sub-immortals, there were several 8th Tribulation sub-immortals. Originally, there were only about 20 sub-immortals in the Tsangqing Divine Realm and the Primitive Universe. In just a short while they had lost 20. After this battle, almost all the sub-immortals in the Primitive Universe were exhausted. It was too tragic. In the distance, Lu Song, Yao Yi and the others' eyes were blood-red and tears flowed down. There were still 500 to 600 origins left in the Tsangqing Divine Realm, and they were all crying. The power of the self-destruction of 10 sub-immortals and even 8th Tribulation sub-immortals was too strong. The 12 Ninth Tribulation sub-immortals bore the brunt of the powerful force and were forced to retreat. They were even injured and their bodies were tattered. The self-destruction of an 8th Tribulation sub-immortal was already a threat to them. Tang Feng took this opportunity to slash out again. Boom. Crack. Cracking sounds came from above the Immortal Pass. This time, several cracks appeared in succession. The Immortal Pass was about to be broken. The Outerverse powerhouses were a little panicked. We can't let him make the next slash. Kill. The 12 powerhouses attacked Tang Feng again. Not only that, but other powerhouses also arrived. Several dozen terrifying attacks rushed towards Tang Feng all at once, drowning Tang Feng. Tang Feng's body instantly exploded. No. Everyone in the Primitive Universe roared in their hearts and their eyes were bloodshot. Was Tang Feng dead? After sacrificing so much, it was still difficult to succeed in the end. Chapter 5205. Everyone's heart sank. Was Tang Feng going to die? If Tang Feng died, then all hope would be gone. In the end, the Primitive Universe would completely decline. Fortunately, Tang Feng didn't die. Although his body exploded, it immediately reformed, but his face was a little pale. He also had a taboo body. Although he walked a completely different path from Lu Ming, his vitality was also extremely shocking. It wasn't that easy to kill him. Seeing that Tang Feng wasn't dead, the 9th Tribulation sub-immortals of the Outerverse roared and charged at him. Jade Clear Great Cosmos, Holy Light Great Cosmos, Styx River Great Cosmos, Skeleton Great Cosmos. There were also some existences from unknown Great Cosmos that were shrouded in multicolored light. We are all Great Cosmos of the Yang Realm. Why are you so ruthless? Living beings of the Yang Realm, as long as you retreat we can let bygones be bygones. Fei Huang said. Her gaze swept across the holy light great cosmos, jade clear great cosmos, and some other living beings of the Yang realm. She could help Tang Feng make the decision. As long as these people retreated, Tang Feng wouldn't deal with them after becoming an immortal. However, these experts of the Yang realm had cold gazes and showed no signs of stopping. They were murderous and swore to kill Tang Feng. There's no need to talk nonsense with them. There are some people in the Yang realm who are even more despicable. The reason why my father died back then was because I suspect that there were experts from the Yang realm who secretly took action. Otherwise, with my father's strength, how could he not be able to deal with DK? He was already injured before the battle with Teak. The junior human king shouted. What? Everyone's heart was greatly shaken. Was there a shocking secret behind human king Shen Yuan's death? Was he plotted against by the experts of the Yang realm and finally killed in a great battle with DK? Especially Lu Ming, his heart was in turmoil and he couldn't calm down. He couldn't help but think of the human king's broken sword. There was a clear fingerprint on the broken sword, as if the human king's sword was broken by a finger. He didn't believe that Teak had such strength. The human king's sword was a genuine immortal weapon that was born from chaos. Moreover, it was in the hands of a human king. Who could break it with a finger? Teak's combat prowess was equal to that of a sovereign personage at best. He absolutely could not do that. The junior sovereign personage once said that before the human sovereign personage Shen Yuan fought Teak, he was already injured. Then, before the battle with Teak, could it be that he was really ambushed by the experts of the Yang realm? His immortal weapon was broken and he was seriously injured. Finally, when he encountered Teak, he had no choice but to split his body to suppress Teak. Also, when the primitive universe was destroyed, the Yang realm didn't send anyone to help. That was very strange. At that time, the primitive universe was ranked 11th in the Yang realm and belonged to the top great universe in Yang court. A few experts even held the position of elders in Yang court. Such an important great cosmos was being invaded by the underworld, yet there were no reinforcements. This didn't make sense. Could it be that the destruction of the primitive universe had something to do with the Yang realm universe? Jade clear great cosmos or holy light great cosmos? If a great cosmos of the Yang realm was really behind this, then these two great cosmoses would have a reason to take action. Jade clear great cosmos was ranked 10th in the Yang realm. The sacred light great cosmos was ranked 8th in the Yang realm and was ranked near the bottom of the top 10. The great desolate great cosmos was extremely powerful. Once its strength continued to increase and charged into the top 10, these two great cosmoses would be at risk of being squeezed out. Especially the jade clear great cosmos. These thoughts only flashed through Lu Ming's mind. The most important thing now was to stop the experts of the outerverse and let Tang Feng break through. Now, the sub-immortals of the primitive universe were almost all dead. It was impossible to rely on self-detonation to stall for time. At least 29th Tribulation sub-immortals charged toward Tang Feng, wanting to completely obliterate him. Tang Feng was facing a lot of pressure while knocking on the immortal pass, so it was difficult for him to divert his attention to deal with others. One had to know that knocking on the immortal pass was very dangerous. Not to mention fighting with others, many people who wholeheartedly knocked on the immortal pass would die under the backlash of the immortal pass. The greater the offensive power of one's immortal gate knocking was, the greater the backlash one would receive. On one hand, Tang Feng had to resist the backlash of the immortal pass. On the other hand, there were so many experts besieging him. No matter how strong Tang Feng was, he would still die. Stop right there. Kill. Fei Huang, Little Human King, Lu Ming, the three primogenitors, Phoenix of the Fiend race, and Song Qing attacked frantically, wanting to delay the experts of the outerverse. However, there were too many of them. Even if they disregarded their injuries and attacked, they couldn't delay them. Lu Ming's body was bathed in blood. He circulated everyone's power, including his own. Even though he knew that his own power was useless against 9th Tribulation sub-immortals, he couldn't care less now. Every bit of hope was worth it. At this moment, the primordial god stone in his spiritual sea shone. On its surface, the runes nearby flickered. Then, a figure appeared on the surface of the primordial god stone. This is... Lu Ming's heart trembled. He naturally recognized this figure. In the immortal graveyard, in front of a large grave, Lu Ming had fought with this figure for many years. Relying on this figure, the power of his Genesis techniques had greatly increased. In the end, the figure even flew into the primordial god stone, causing a layer of stone to fall off, revealing the stone's original appearance. This figure was the one that had flown into the primordial god stone in the immortal graveyard. The figure was very small, like a little human standing on the surface of the primordial god stone. Its feet moved in a mysterious way, and its fists danced as if it was practicing a fist technique. Lu Ming was enlightened. Unconsciously, he moved along with the figure. He stepped on the void, waved his fists, and blasted them out. Whoosh! In the next moment, Lu Ming's speed suddenly increased. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with the Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals and punched one of them. At this moment, Lu Ming's fists exploded with boundless power. They were unstoppable, and everything was destroyed and turned into nothingness. Bang! The layers of defense set up by the Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal were instantly penetrated. The fist force crushed down, and the Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal's body directly exploded. Even his soul couldn't escape and was completely obliterated by the fist force. A Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal was killed just like that. This was the third Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal to die in today's battle. Previously, Tang Feng had killed one and Azure Ox had killed another. Now Lu Ming had killed one. Even Lu Ming himself was a little stunned. He never thought that the power would be so strong. Great! Fei Huang, the little human king, and the others were also stunned at first. Although they were also shocked and couldn't understand why Lu Ming's battle strength had soared. But no matter the reason, Lu Ming's battle strength had skyrocketed, and it was a good thing for them. The Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals of the Outerverse were shocked. The vitality of a Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal was extremely tenacious, and they were actually killed just like that. This made their hearts turn cold. Chapter 5206. Although Lu Ming was slightly taken aback, he did not stop. This was a rare opportunity. He wanted to know how long the figure on the Primordial Godstone could last and whether it would disappear soon. The figure on the surface of the Primordial Godstone was still punching. Lu Ming's body followed closely behind the figure and punched at the same time. Whoosh! Lu Ming seemed to hear the power in his body circulating like flowing water. The power in Lu Ming's body came from the blood crystal of the Lord of the Taishang Celestial Dynasty. It was too strong and Lu Ming did not know how to use it at all. Previously he could only use brute force and could not fully unleash the power of this power. However, right now, when Lu Ming brandished his fist, this force was fully mobilized and its prowess was unleashed to its fullest. Boom! Lu Ming's fists seemed to be moving the universe. They contained unparalleled power as if they could destroy everything. Bam! In front of him, another Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal exploded, his body and soul destroyed. It was not that this Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal did not resist. On the contrary, he used all his strength to resist, but his outcome was still the same as the previous Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal. All resistance was unnecessary. Too strong. He killed a Ninth Tribulation Subimmortal with one punch. The power of his fist was unparalleled. Lu Ming's blood boiled as he roared, "Kill! Attack together! Don't let him kill us one by one." In an instant, a total of 8 Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals joined forces and launched a powerful attack on Lu Ming. When 8 Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals attacked with all their strength, their power was earth-shattering. They could also destroy an existence of the same level. Lu Ming was fearless. He punched out and punched. Streams of fist energy pierced through heaven and earth, crossing the universe and fighting the 8 Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals head-on. Boom, 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 boom. The void within hundreds of millions of miles turned into chaos. Destructive energy surged wantonly, and it was a scene of doomsday. In the chaos, 8 figures retreated rapidly. They were 8 Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals. Their expressions were extremely ugly, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. 8 Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals joined forces, but they were still no match. They were pushed back by the unparalleled fist energy, and they were even injured. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. "All of you stay here." Lu Ming let out a long howl and continued to throw punches. As he threw punches, not only did the power of his punches not weaken, but they also became stronger and stronger. The powerful punch not only covered the 8 Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals but also the other Ninth Tribulation Subimmortals. 20. Lu Ming's fist energy covered the 29th Tribulation Subimmortals and pulled them into the battle. Lu Ming's fist energy was filled with a fatal threat. The 9th Tribulation Subimmortal who was attacked by Lu Ming could only stop his counterattack. Lu Ming alone blocked 29th Tribulation Subimmortals, greatly reducing the pressure on the others. In the Outerverse, there were only 37 9th Tribulation Subimmortals left. Xue Higan was entangled by the Junior Human King, so there were only 36 of them left. Lu Ming had entangled 20 of them, leaving 16 of them. Fei Huang, the 3 primogenitors, the Demon Phoenix, and Song Qing attacked the remaining 16 subimmortals with all their might. This way Tang Feng finally obtained a chance to catch his breath. Mustering all of his strength, he slashed out another sword strike. Boom. This sword strike landed on the immortal pass, causing it to shake violently. Dense cracks appeared on the immortal pass and debris flew everywhere. The immortal pass was about to be broken. The three primogenitors, the demon phoenix and Song Qing, were overjoyed. He was about to succeed. At their peak, they were true immortals and had broken through the immortal pass. They knew very well that Tang Feng's immortal pass was about to be broken. One sword strike. Perhaps he only needed one more sword strike to break through the immortal pass and become an immortal. The ninth tribulation subimmortals of the Outerverse panicked. Use the immortal weapon. Now that the universal core has merged, the primitive universe is much more stable. A broken immortal weapon will not cause the universe to be destroyed. That's right. Use the broken immortal weapon to kill them. Someone shouted. Kill. Wang Gu of the Nether River Great Cosmos took out a pitch-black sword. In the beginning, Wang Gu had used the sword to break the seal of the Azure Godly Realm. This was a broken immortal weapon. Help me revive the immortal weapon. Wang Gu roared. Several experts of the Nether River Great Cosmos attacked together and activated the immortal weapon. Buzz. The immortal weapon vibrated and was revived. It erupted with a shocking aura and turned into a terrifying sword light that slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's hair stood on end as he felt a fatal crisis. Immortal weapon. Even if it was a broken immortal weapon, once it was revived, its power would be extremely terrifying and unparalleled. That was because it was the power of the immortal Tao. Block it. Lu Ming roared as he frantically punched out with both fists. In an instant he had thrown out 99 punches. 99 punches were formed in one breath and bombarded the shocking sword light. Clang, clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, 99 explosions took place. With each explosion, the immortal armament battle sword light would weaken a bit. After 99 explosions, the immortal armament battle sword was forcibly stopped and sent flying backwards. How was that possible? All the living beings of the Outerverse widened their eyes in disbelief. The immortal weapon had actually been blocked. It was a broken immortal weapon with scars on it and was not complete enough. There was a difference in power between it and a complete immortal weapon. However, it was definitely close to the power of the immortal Tao and was no small matter. An ordinary ninth tribulation subimmortal would die in one hit. Now, it had actually been blocked. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. More people help me. The power of the immortal weapon just now has not been fully recovered. Wang Gu roared. I'll help you. Me too. Several ninth tribulation subimmortals appeared behind Wang Gu and injected their power into the immortal weapon. This time, the immortal weapon really erupted with an even more terrifying power and slashed toward Lu Ming again. Not only that, but in another direction, an incomparably huge immortal mountain suppressed Lu Ming. Another immortal weapon. It was still incomplete and had scars on it. It was a broken immortal weapon that emitted boundless sacred light from the sacred light great cosmos. These great cosmoses had indeed brought great killing weapons. They had not used them before. Firstly, there was no need because the seal of the Azure Godly Realm had already been broken. Secondly, the universal core of the primitive universe had not merged. The primitive universe was very weak and could not withstand the power of the broken immortal weapon. It would be completely destroyed. However, now that the universal core had merged and the laws of order spread out, the primitive universe was many times more stable than before. They judged that it should be able to withstand the power of the broken immortal weapon. Moreover, this was a critical moment and they had to stop Tang Feng. The two broken immortal weapons charged toward Lu Ming. About 10 ninth tribulation subimmortals activated them. The remaining ninth tribulation subimmortals charged toward Tang Feng to stop him from continuing to break through. Facing the attacks of the two broken immortal weapons, Lu Ming's body trembled violently. His muscles and bones were under tremendous pressure as if they were about to collapse. 10 ninth tribulation subimmortals activated the two broken immortal weapons with all their strength and launched an attack. Lu Ming could not block it. This was already beyond the power of a subimmortal. Chapter 5207. Come out. At the critical moment, Lu Ming grabbed at his glabella. A piece of metal flew out from his sea of consciousness and was caught by Lu Ming. This piece of metal was obtained from the dark-skinned old man in the Grand Supreme Immortal Capital. Back then, the dark-skinned old man had used this piece of metal to block the Human King's broken sword and displayed extraordinary power. During the previous battle, the piece of metal had not moved at all. Clearly, it was unwilling to help Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming took it out forcefully. The power from the blood crystal of the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty was injected into the broken metal frantically. Boom. A terrifying power recovered from the piece of metal. The piece of metal emitted a resplendent light. A pitch-black metal rod appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Of course, most of the metal rod was illusory and made of energy. Only that piece of metal was real. This should be the true appearance of the immortal weapon that the piece of metal belonged to. A long rod. Boom. Lu Ming held the rod with one hand and attacked. The first to bear the brunt was the black battle sword. Clang. The two collided and a deafening explosion erupted. The black battle sword shook violently, and the sword light dissipated as it was sent flying. Lu Ming did not stop. The metal rod changed direction and attacked the huge mountain above his head, sending it flying. Kill? Lu Ming roared like an invincible war immortal. The metal rod swept out and the rod light erupted. It was unparalleled. Not only did it attack the two pieces of immortal weapons, but it also enveloped the other ninth tribulation sub-immortals. The huge rod shadow filled the sky as if an entire world was pressing down. Oh no! The ninth tribulation sub-immortals' expressions changed drastically as they felt a fatal threat. If this rod hit, not many ninth tribulation sub-immortals could withstand it. At the critical moment, a green pagoda rushed out of the body of a ninth tribulation sub-immortal from the jade clear great cosmos. The green pagoda only had 3 levels and it was obviously a broken immortal weapon. As the 10th great cosmos of the Yang realm, it had obviously brought a powerful weapon this time. The green pagoda rapidly expanded and flew up, colliding with the rod shadow. Boom. A terrifying force swept out. Those sub-immortals who were at a disadvantage trembled violently and retreated continuously. Many of them vomited blood. They couldn't even withstand the shock waves from the collision of broken immortal weapons. The azure pagoda was sent flying, and Lu Ming's staff shadow also dissipated. Again? Lu Ming roared. Lu Ming could feel that the power of the blood crystal from the Grand Supreme Immortal Dynasty's Lord was being depleted at a rapid rate. After all, the blood crystal's energy was just a shedding of the Taishang Immortal Dynasty's Emperor. It didn't have much energy left. After the continuous battles, it had already consumed a lot of energy. Now that it was using its full strength to activate the immortal artifact fragment, it wouldn't be able to last for long. But as long as he could hold on until Tang Feng broke through the immortal gate and became an immortal, it would be enough. Lu Ming didn't care about the rapid consumption of energy. He urged the staff to vibrate and split into 3. 3 staff shadows bombarded 3 different directions. As the staff shadow pressed down, the 9th tribulation sub-immortals found it difficult to find an opportunity to attack Tang Feng. Buzz. A shocking sword chime erupted. Tang Feng gathered all his energy and his essence, energy and spirit erupted all at once, turning into the strongest sword in his history. Boom. The strongest sword light slashed on the immortal gate. Crack. Bang. The immortal gate emitted a dazzling light, like the last afterglow. Then with a bang it exploded. An incomparably terrifying force poured down from behind the immortal gate, enveloping Tang Feng. Tang Feng's aura instantly soared. The speed of the increase was astonishing. His physical body, soul, and strength were all transforming rapidly. This was an extreme sublimation, jumping from a life to another life level. Success. Fei Huang, the 3 primogenitors Feng Huang, Cang Lin, and the others were all overjoyed. He had broken through the immortal gate and become an immortal. Tang Feng had succeeded and was rapidly transforming. He had already transcended the sub-immortal realm and become another life form. An immortal life form that was immortal and indestructible. Oh no! The 9th tribulation sub-immortals of the outer verse were all shocked. To be honest, this was really beyond their expectations. No one could have imagined that someone could become an immortal under such circumstances. Even the powerhouses behind them could not have imagined it. Even if the heart of the universe had fused, it had only just fused. It was still early for the antediluvian universe to be truly complete and suitable for immortal ascension. It still needed a period of time to recover. Under such conditions, it should be impossible to become an immortal. However, Tang Feng had done it. He had turned the impossible into the possible and created a miracle. Rising from the ashes and becoming an immortal from the ruins was too terrifying. Retreat. Schweigen was the most decisive. He retreated and quickly left. He knew that there was no room for change. Tang Feng had become an immortal and obtained the heart of the universe. They could no longer seize the heart of the universe. A new immortal had successfully broken through with the heart of the universe as the foundation. This was too great and they complemented each other. As long as this immortal did not die, the heart of the universe would not shatter again. Sure enough, the heart of the universe shone and emitted a boundless aura. The laws of order were like endless threads that extended into the antediluvian universe. At this moment, the antediluvian universe became incomparably stable. As long as the immortal did not die, the heart of the universe would not shatter. The antediluvian universe would not be destroyed. Let's go. Seeing Schweigen retreat, the other ninth tribulation subimmortals were not fools. They immediately had the intention to retreat and frantically retreated. Kill? Suddenly Tang Feng shouted. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. Now that he had become an immortal, how could he let these people retreat? With a raise of his hand, boundless sword light burst out, shattering the void and charging toward the subimmortals of the outerverse. The first to bear the brunt were those ordinary subimmortals. This time only the Nether River Great Cosmos and the Holy Light Great Cosmos, which were the first to arrive, had brought ordinary subimmortals. Those subimmortals and origins that had besieged the Azure Divine Realm previously. The other great cosmoses had sent ninth tribulation subimmortals. These ordinary subimmortals did not even have the chance to scream before they were annihilated by the sword light and turned into ashes. Even more sword light charged toward those ninth tribulation subimmortals. This was the attack of a true immortal. It was unparalleled. No. Many ninth tribulation subimmortals roared and desperately resisted. But everything was in vain. Their attacks and defenses were like paper under the sword light. They were broken with one strike. Buff, buff. Blood flashed and dyed the void red. In an instant, 21 ninth tribulation subimmortals were completely killed by the sword light. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. Was this the power of a true immortal? Tang Feng had just broken through. With a casual strike, these previously unparalleled ninth tribulation subimmortals were completely vulnerable. 21 of them died in an instant. These were all ninth tribulation subimmortals. They had worked hard and gone through many tribulations to reach this step. They were just one step away from becoming an immortal. But now 21 of them had died in one move. It was like cutting melons and vegetables. The remaining dozen or so did not die because they were protected by the broken immortal weapon. Chapter 5208. Previously, Lu Ming had killed 2 ninth tribulation subimmortals. There were still 35 ninth tribulation subimmortals in the outerverse. Schweigen, who had escaped first, still had 34. The remaining 13 managed to keep their lives thanks to the protection of the 3 damaged immortal artifacts. However, Tang Feng's sword light was too terrifying. Although they were blocked, the backlash still made the 13 ninth tribulation subimmortals vomit blood and suffer heavy injuries. Humph, trying to block me with broken immortal weapons? Ridiculous. Tang Feng said coldly. He took a step forward and appeared above the 13 ninth tribulation subimmortals. He grabbed at the air. Bus, bus, bus. The 3 broken immortal weapons vibrated and broke free from the control of Wang Gu and the others. They flew toward Tang Feng. In the end, Tang Feng waved his hand and put them all away. The remaining 13 ninth tribulation subimmortals were pale. Tang Feng, now that you have become an immortal, the primitive universe will return to the Yang Court. If you kill us, it will be difficult to explain to the Holy Light Great Cosmos in the future. A ninth tribulation subimmortal from the Holy Light Great Cosmos shouted. That's right. The ancestor of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos is the deputy court lord of the Yang Court. If the primitive universe wants to develop, it's best to befriend us. A ninth tribulation subimmortal from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos also shouted. They were really afraid. Now they could only bring up the cosmos behind them. According to the laws of the Yang Court, a new true immortal from the primitive universe could return to the Yang Court as long as they fulfilled certain conditions and received the protection and resources of the Yang Court. However, the Jade Clear Great Cosmos and the Holy Light Great Cosmos were giants in the Yang Court. They were very important. If the primitive universe wanted to develop smoothly, they could not offend them. They could only use this to save their lives. Ridiculous. Tang Feng revealed a mocking smile. As he raised his hand, sword chi that filled the sky slashed down. Ah, Tang Feng, the immortals of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos will not let you off. The immortal kings of the Holy Light Great Cosmos will make you suffer. The ninth tribulation subimmortals from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos and the Holy Light Great Cosmos shouted in despair. The ninth tribulation subimmortals from the Styx River Great Cosmos and the Skeletal Great Cosmos also shouted crazily. They were unwilling to accept this. They were only a step away from becoming true immortals. They had worked so hard, experienced so many tribulations, and were only a step away from proving their Tao. They were really unwilling to die just like that. However, no matter how unwilling they were, it was useless. As the sword light slashed down, the remaining 13 subimmortals of the ninth tribulation were all killed. Good kill. Lu Song, Yao Yi, and the other origins in the Azure Divine Realm roared and trembled with excitement. Previously, they had watched helplessly as the sub-immortals of the Azure Immortal Realm and the demon race self-destructed one after another. They were too aggrieved and powerless. At this moment he was finally able to vent his anger. Those sub-immortals had not died in vain. Shui Higan. After killing the 13 Nine Tribulation sub-immortals, Tang Feng raised his head and looked in the direction where Shui Bai and had escaped. He waved his hand and the void cracked open. Through the crack in the void, he saw a figure frantically fleeing in the distance. It was Shui Higan. At this moment Shui Bai An's hair stood on end. His sharp spiritual sense sensed a fatal danger. He knew that Tang Feng would not let him go. He had to escape from the primitive universe. He desperately ran towards a space passage. As long as they escaped from the universe channel, they would be safe. Kill. Tang Feng said softly and slashed with the battle sword in his hand. A sword light slashed out along the crack and crossed an infinite distance in an instant. It suddenly appeared above Shui Bai An's head and slashed at him. Shui Bai An let out a beast-like roar and activated the broken deity weapon with all his strength. He slashed upward with all his might, hoping to block the sword light. However, a broken deity weapon was still a broken deity weapon after all. There was still a gap between it and a real deity. Besides, it was not controlled by a true deity, so it could not block Tang Feng's sword light. With a clang, Shui Bai An's broken deity weapon was sent flying. The sword light did not stop and continued to slash at Shui Bai An. Shui Bai An's face turned pale. Was he really going to die here? He was unwilling to. To be honest, with his strength he could knock on the deity gate and become a deity at any time. However, he was ambitious and did not want to become a deity so easily. He wanted to accumulate more strength. He did not want to become an ordinary true deity. He wanted to become a powerful Tai true deity or even a peerless true deity. However, it was too late. He could not block the sword light. The sword light was about to fall. Shui Bai An's body suddenly shone. A hazy figure appeared from his body and slapped at Tang Feng's sword light. Boom. Tang Feng's sword light was blocked. Patriarch. Shui Bai An shouted in surprise. The figure was an patriarch of the Nirvana Grand Cosmos. He was an immortal king with amazing strength. Immortal king. It's the immortal king. He is reflected by Shui Bai An's body. Ancestor Wu Nian exclaimed. After all, he was a veteran true immortal who had almost reached the peak of the true immortal realm when he was at his peak. The others were shocked. An immortal king had arrived. The Eldritch universe had just stabilized and such an expert was already here. The king of the immortal Tao, the king of the deities. He was really powerful and had almost reached the peak of the immortal Tao. Tang Feng had just attained the Tao. How could he be a match for him? My original body is far away in the Nirvana Grand Cosmos. You want to save him with a reflection? Dream on. Your original body is more or less the same. Tang Feng was very powerful. He stepped out and shattered the void, arriving not far away from Shui Bai Han. Swoosh. The sword light was shocking and dazzling, illuminating the entire Eldritch universe. At this moment, no matter where the universe was, everyone could see the sword light. The sword light that stunned the universe slashed at Shui Bai Han. In front of Shui Bai Han, the hazy figure waved his hands as if he was pushing a strange force to attack Tang Feng's sword light. Rumble. Two terrifying forces collided in the void. The boundless void was endlessly being destroyed and restored. The cycle repeated. This collision was too shocking. It was the true power of the immortal Tao. If Tang Feng hadn't become an immortal and the heart of the universe hadn't recovered, the power of this attack would have destroyed the entire Eldritch universe and made it disappear completely in the chaos. But now it would be fine. After the attack, the sword light dissipated and Tang Feng's figure retreated 3 steps. The figure also retreated 2 steps. The hazy figure's eyes shone with dazzling light as if he was shocked. It's really a miracle to be able to unleash such power after just attaining the Tao, the hazy figure whispered. Kill. Tang Feng didn't say much. He only said the word kill coldly and his sword disappeared. In the infinite distance where the Azure Divine Realm was located, the broken sword of the human king turned into a ray of light, breaking the void and appearing in Tang Feng's hand. The sword ancestor held the broken sword in his hand and his aura rose again. At the same time, a huge amount of power in the Eldritch universe gathered toward Tang Feng. Chapter 5209. In the primeval great cosmos, countless fragments of continents soared into the sky. In the depths of the void, a massive amount of power rushed towards Tang Feng. If one's cultivation was high enough, They would even be able to see the endless threads converging towards Tang Feng and covering his body and sword. This was the order of the primeval great cosmos. Tang Feng was borrowing the power of the primeval great cosmos's order. This sword strike was incomparably stunning, surpassing both ancient and modern times. Its might was so great that it was shocking. Even the patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos had a change in expression. He quickly formed hand seals with both hands, drawing upon the power of the immortal Tao and slashing out a terrifying blade light. Nirvana blade. Boom. The blade and sword collided, and the universe trembled. In the next instant, the blade light shattered, and the patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos retreated rapidly. Let's go. Then, the patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos waved his sleeves and swept Schweigen away. His actual body was far away in the Nirvana great cosmos. He was just borrowing the power of Schweigen's body to reflect. The distance was too far, and the power reflected was limited. Tang Feng had risen from the ashes and become an immortal in the ruins. With the core of the universe as his foundation, this kind of immortal ascension was no small matter. In a sense, he could represent the primeval great cosmos and borrow the power of the primeval great cosmos to fight against his enemies. As long as he was in the primeval great cosmos, Tang Feng's power would be extremely shocking and far surpass his cultivation base. Under such circumstances, it wasn't good to stay for long. He could only retreat first. Schweigen couldn't die here. You want to leave? Stay. Tang Feng shouted as his sword light pierced the sky and struck out again. This was the sword of a supreme sword immortal. It shattered everything and instantly caught up with the patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos and went straight for Schweigen. The patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos created dozens of layers of defense, but when the sword light struck, these layers of defense collapsed one after another. Boom. In the end, one of the arms of the patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos was destroyed. Schweigen, who was within it, screamed in horror. Freeze! The patriarch of the Nirvana great cosmos attacked with all his strength. Although the power of the sword light was constantly weakened by him, he was still a step too late. Schweigen was swept by the sword light, and she screamed in pain as half of her body exploded. The patriarch of the Permitha great cosmos waved his hand and grabbed the remaining half of Schweigen's body. Then he tore the space apart and disappeared completely. Tang Feng's expression was somewhat ugly. Schweigen still ran away. After all, he had just ascended to immortality and had yet to consolidate his cultivation base. Although he could borrow the power of the desolate universe, there was still a limit to it. As for the other party, it was clear that the other party was an immortal king. If the other party wanted to protect a single person, it would be very difficult for him to succeed. To be able to achieve such a result was already very good. Schweigen had been hit by the sword, which had damaged his foundation. It would take a long time for him to recover. In the future, it would even be very difficult for him to knock on the immortal pass and attain immortality. For a peerless genius, this might be even more unbearable than death. Amazing, truly amazing. This scene was seen by Lu Ming and the others. That was because the crack that Tang Feng had torn open earlier had projected the scene. Lu Ming, Lu Song, and Yao Yi were the most excited. Well done. At the same time, they were deeply impressed by Tang Feng's invincible demeanor. This father-in-law of mine is reliable. He's as elegant as me. Lu Ming murmured in his heart. After Schweigen was rescued, Tang Feng didn't return. Instead, he sat cross-legged where he was. Then, figures kept walking out of his body. Clones. They were different from Fei Huang's 10,000 spirit clones. These were just ordinary clones, or rather, clones with immortal power. Once an immortal became an immortal, the origin power in the body would be completely transformed into immortal power. This was a supreme power with infinite power, endless changes, and endless mysteries. It could suppress all the power in the world. These clones were all formed by Tang Feng with a trace of immortal power. A total of 100 clones tore open space and flew to various places in the desolate universe. On a fragment of a continent, there was an ancient ruin. An overlord of a great universe in the Een world had broken into the ruin and plundered all the treasures in it. Now many people were still sweeping through the ruins. The void cracked open and a figure suddenly came out. It was none other than Tang Feng's clone. Who is it? A sixth tribulation subimmortal shouted coldly and threw a punch at Tang Feng. They didn't know about the previous battle at all. They only felt that there was a change in the desolate universe, so they naturally didn't know Tang Feng. Kill? Tang Feng said coldly. With a wave of his hand, boundless sword light erupted. Immortal power, no. The sixth tribulation subimmortal screamed in horror. The next moment, the sword light shredded him into ashes. The rest of the sword light swept through the ruin and wiped out all the Outerverse experts. At the same time, similar things were happening in many places in the desolate universe. Tang Feng wanted to kill all the creatures that had invaded the desolate universe. On the other side of the universe, where the Holy Light Great Universe's experts were, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky above them. It was naturally Tang Feng's clone. Not good. As soon as Tang Feng appeared, the Holy Light Great Universe's experts felt that something was wrong. Their 9 tribulation subimmortals had gone to besiege the Ashen Azure Godly Realm, but now, an expert from the desolate universe had suddenly appeared here. Could something have happened in the battle in the Ashen Azure Godly Realm? Kill? After Tang Feng's clone appeared, he didn't waste any words and directly attacked. The sky was filled with sword light. Boundless sword light enveloped everyone within. It was unparalleled. The people of the Holy Light Great Universe revealed looks of despair. But at that moment the void suddenly exploded. Boundless sacred light burst out from the depths of the dark void. This sacred light flew out and hit the sword light, blocking all of it. Then a figure appeared and rapidly enlarged. It was indomitable and filled the void of the universe. It was so big that the continent fragment wasn't even the size of his palm. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at Tang Feng. A vast, supreme and eternal aura filled the entire void. Lord True Immortal. The experts of the Holy Light Great Universe cried out in surprise. True Immortal. Tang Feng frowned slightly. He could see that this wasn't an imprint or a projection of power. It was a true body. A true immortal had arrived with his true body. Congratulations on becoming an immortal. From now on, you can transcend the universe and enjoy eternity. The Holy Light Great Universe's true immortal was very polite and cupped his fists at Tang Feng. You want to protect them? Tang Feng asked. Fellow immortal, how about giving me some face? Holy Light Great Universe's true immortal Tao. You don't have that much face. These people must stay here today. Tang Feng was very domineering. He even dared to use his sword against an immortal king, let alone a true immortal. Fellow immortal, you have now become an immortal. According to the laws of the Yang Court, as long as you complete one more mission, you can re-enter the Yang Court. According to the secular world, you and I will be officials of the same court and will see each other frequently. If you are overbearing, it won't benefit you or your desolate universe. The Holy Light Great Universe's true immortal was very polite, but the threat in his words couldn't be more obvious. Chapter 52:10. Tang Feng frowned slightly. He had to consider the other party's words. If it was just him, he wouldn't care. However, he had a wife, children, disciples, and friends. He had to be careful. Moreover, the primordial universe was riddled with holes and had many things to do. It needed time to develop and a stable environment. Thus, joining the Yang Court was the best choice. If he joined the Yang Court, not only would he be protected from the attacks of the Yin world, but he would also receive a large amount of resources from the Yang Court. It was crucial for the development of the primitive universe. The Holy Light Great Cosmos's influence in the Yang Court was not to be underestimated. If they really became enemies, it would be very disadvantageous for the primitive universe's future development. The competition and killing between the younger generation was just a small matter. However, once the true immortals started fighting, it would be a big deal. Countless thoughts flashed through Tang Feng's mind. If it were him, he would definitely take action. Not only would he kill these true immortals and their origins, but he would also kill this true immortal in front of him. After killing him, he would just leave. However, the hope of the primitive universe's development now rested on him. Looks like I'm not the only one here. The Holy Light Great Cosmos's true immortal suddenly looked in other directions. Suddenly, many terrifying figures appeared in many places in the universe. They were all immortal path experts from some great cosmos in the Yang realm. These figures were incomparably huge. They squeezed the void and protected the experts of their great cosmos. Tang Feng frowned and suddenly looked in another direction in the universe. The Yin world's true immortal. Tang Feng muttered. Not long ago. On the other side of the universe. This was the place where the experts of the Nether River Great Cosmos were stationed. Although many experts of the Nether River Great Cosmos had gone to the Azure Divine Realm, there were still many experts stationed here. Tang Feng's clone appeared and immediately attacked, slashing out a shocking sword light. However, it was the same in the Holy Light Great Cosmos. The sword light was blocked and a figure appeared in the void. It was indomitable and its aura could swallow mountains and rivers. It was surrounded by a huge nether river. It was a true immortal expert. Kill. Tang Feng didn't have any scruples facing the Yin world's true immortal. Since they were in different camps, it was fine even if he killed all the living beings in the Yin world. The dazzling sword light carried a fatal power as it slashed toward the true immortal of the Nether River Great Cosmos. You just broke through to the true immortal stage and you want to fight me? Courting death. The true immortal from the Nether River Great Cosmos snorted coldly. He was a veteran true immortal who had been on the immortal Dao for a long time. Tang Feng had only just attained his Dao, yet he had dared to attack him. Then I'll take this opportunity to get rid of him. The Nether River Great Cosmos blasted out a palm strike. Immediately, the Nether River surged and tried to swallow Tang Feng. Boom. The sword light slashed onto the underworld river. Huge waves surged into the sky, and the underworld river rolled backward. The face of the true immortal from the Nether River Great Cosmos changed as he roared and pushed out with both hands. The underworld river surged. On it, there were unexpectedly creatures that appeared. They roared towards the heavens and released terrifying attacks. After all, Tang Feng was only a clone. In the end, he could not resist and was forced to retreat. In the distance, Tang Feng's real body was originally sitting cross-legged. At this moment he suddenly stood up and took a deep breath. All of his doppelgangers in the universe returned at the same time and entered his body. His true body took a step forward and appeared near the true immortal of the Nether River Great Cosmos. Sword hums reverberated throughout the universe as sword light soared into the sky, sweeping across all directions as it slashed down continuously. The true immortal of the Nether River Great Cosmos roared and took out his ninth tribulation quasi-immortal weapon to resist with all his might. That's right. It was a ninth tribulation quasi-immortal weapon, not an immortal weapon. After all, there were too few true immortal weapons. Immortal weapons of true immortals could not be refined. Only those who had obtained them at the beginning of the Great Cosmos and in the depths of the primal chaos could possibly nurture them. The number of immortal weapons in the entire universe could be counted. Every one of them had a record and a name. Most true immortals did not have immortal weapons. They used quasi-immortal weapons that accompanied them. However, the true immortal of the Nether River Great Cosmos was horrified to discover that he was no match for Tang Feng. Tang Feng's sword light was endless and incomparably sharp as if it could cut through everything. He actually could not block it. Boom, boom, boom. Figures kept appearing in the void in all directions. Each of them was indomitable and had a shocking aura. All of them were immortal Dao existences. They even used mysterious methods to reflect the universe and project the situation in this place. Everyone in the universe could see the scene here. These are true immortals. They are all true immortals. The three primogenitors, Phoenix of the Yao race, Songqing and the others exclaimed. There were at least a dozen true immortals. They felt a huge pressure and did not know the purpose of these true immortals. These true immortals were all watching the battle seriously. Some of them were shocked. He did not use the power of the primitive universe, but he can actually suppress He Luo. How shocking. He Luo is a veteran true immortal. He has attained the Dao for countless years, but he is still no match for him. Could this person have become a Grand Unity true immortal? A Grand Unity true immortal? These people were silent. Their eyes were filled with jealousy and envy. The true immortal of the Nether River Great Cosmos roared and frantically counterattacked. However, it was useless. He felt that the pressure Tang Feng was exerting on him was increasing. In the end, his Nether River was severed. The sword light swept across his body. He vomited blood and his immortal body was almost cut in half. The remaining power of the sword light swept across, and a dozen experts of the Nether River Great Cosmos exploded, their bodies and souls destroyed. Kill. Tang Feng shouted coldly and attacked aggressively. He wanted to completely kill this true immortal of the Nether River Great Cosmos. You are too much. A cold voice was heard. Then a huge bone claw grabbed at Tang Feng. The bone claw looked like a human bone claw. Its bones were jade-colored and crystal clear. However, the strange thing was that there were traces of golden blood flowing under the crystal clear bones. The bone claw was huge and covered a part of the void with boundless power. Everything in its path was destroyed and melted. Immortal King. The true immortal of the sacred light Great Cosmos exclaimed. The other true immortals were also shocked. The immortal king had made a move. It was not like the immortal king of the Permitha Great Cosmos who had only used a projection. This was his real body. Tang Feng growled. The immortal king was too strong and unparalleled. He felt that his immortal body could not withstand the attack and was about to be destroyed. He shouted and the power of the universe gathered towards him again. His body was covered with endless order laws as he slashed with his sword with all his strength. The sword light slashed at the bone claw. With a clang, the battle sword shook. Tang Feng's body was pushed back and he vomited a mouthful of blood. After all, he had just broken through. Even if he could borrow the power of the primitive universe, he could not match a true immortal king. Kill. A cold shout came from behind the bone claw. The bone claw only paused for a moment before it continued to grab at Tang Feng. It was obviously trying to kill Tang Feng. More than a dozen immortal Dao experts from the Yang realm had come, but they were indifferent. No one helped. Tang Feng roared and drew his sword to fight again. Chapter 52:11. Tang Feng brandished his sword and raised his combat power to the peak with the help of the Eldritch Universe. But there was still a big gap between him and an immortal king. Under the claw, the sword light kept collapsing, and the laws of the universe were exploding and annihilating. This scene was reflected in the eyes of every living being in the universe. Lu Ming, the three ancestors, Fei Huang, and the others all saw it. Many people revealed looks of despair. Could it be that Tang Feng couldn't become an immortal and would die in battle? Was the Eldritch Universe incurable after all? At this moment, in front of the claw, a jade-like palm appeared and gently slashed on the claw. This jade-like palm seemed to be light. There was no force, and it didn't cause any abnormalities, as if it was a palm strike from an ordinary person. However, when his palm landed on the bony claw, numerous cracks appeared on the bony claw. Then, with a loud bang, the bony claw exploded. Ah! In the void, a painful wail rang out. Following that, a gigantic skeleton was blasted out as it retreated backwards. In front of Tang Feng, a woman appeared. She was barefoot and wearing a short skirt. She had a slim figure and a beautiful face. She stood in the void just like that, otherworldly and untainted by the mortal world. Is she a human? Is she a senior of the human race? Lu Ming immediately thought of the senior powerhouses of the human race. Although a large number of powerhouses died in the battle at the end of the Eldritch Universe, it was speculated that some of them didn't die, sealed the Eldritch Universe, and then went far away. Could it be that those seniors had returned after the fusion of the heart of the universe? To be able to injure a celestial king with a single strike, just how powerful was his combat prowess? In the history of the human race, there were only a few women with such combat power. The eternal queen of women? Lu Ming immediately thought of the peerless queen of women, one of the three kings. It's not a senior of the human race but the Eldritch race. On the side, Ancestor Wu Yen said. He frowned and his eyes were full of doubts. I didn't expect that even the Eldritch race would come today. The Eldritch race has always been aloof, and they don't care about the grudges of the other universes unless something major happens. On the side, the Phoenix of the Eldritch race said, also surprised and doubtful. The Eldritch race? What is the Elysian clan? Lu Ming asked. Although he had heard the ancestors mention it previously, they had only mentioned it briefly. Lu Ming did not ask about it in detail. Although the previous chapter had talked about the Elysian clan in detail, the main character didn't know about it. The leader of the Yang court, the #1 cosmos in the Yang realm. Legend has it that they were born in the Yang realm's cosmic sea. They are incomparably ancient and no one knows how long they have been born. They are the earliest creatures in the Yang realm. Their counterpart is the Yellow Sky clan of the Yin world. They are ranked first in the Yin world and were born in the Yin universe sea. They are as old as the Blue Sky clan. They are collectively known as the Sky clan. Thoughtless Primogenitor quickly explained. Blue Sky, Yellow Sky, Sky race? No wonder the Heaven Destroyer is a taboo. Even the heavenly human tribe doesn't dare to use Heaven as their name. Lu Ming suddenly understood. The Blue Sky clan, the Yellow Sky clan, was known as the Sky clan. If the name of the Heaven Destroyer was spread out, it would indeed bring about a great disaster. Destroy the sky, destroy the sky. Which heaven do you want to destroy? The Sky clan? As for the heavenly human tribe, they also violated the taboo. Other than the Blue Sky clan and the Yellow Sky clan, no one else was qualified to use the name Heaven. This peerless woman who injured an immortal king with one move was from the Blue Sky clan. But why did she look so similar to the human tribe? It wasn't just the appearance. There was also the temperament and aura. As if seeing Lu Ming's doubts, Thoughtless Primogenitor explained, the true form of the Sky clan is like this. Why do countless races in the cosmic sea take human form? To be precise, they don't take human form but sky form. Legend has it that the form of the Sky clan is the most perfect form. The human tribe is naturally similar to the Sky clan. In the cosmic sea, many races are naturally similar to the Sky clan in appearance. They are all close to the perfect form. Lu Ming suddenly understood. No wonder many races, such as the demon tribe and the strange races in the outer verse, could take human form after becoming powerful. In the past, Lu Ming found it strange that these races looked up to the human race. Now he understood that they were not looking up to the human race but the heavenly race. As for the human tribe, their natural appearance and aura were especially similar to the Blue Sky clan. It was not the human tribe that looked like the human tribe, but the Blue Sky clan or the Yellow Sky clan. This form was the most perfect form in the cosmic sea, the most suitable form for cultivation. Greetings, my lord. The immortal Tao beings from the other universes in the Yang realm were originally standing in the distance to watch the show. When they saw the woman from the Blue Sky clan, they were all moved and bowed to pay their respects. The Elysian clan had the highest status in the world of the living. They were the well-deserved leader of the Yang realm. If it weren't for the Blue Sky clan resisting the Yellow Sky clan of the Yin world, the Yang realm would have been destroyed long ago. Moreover, the woman in front of them was an extremely powerful immortal king. The immortal Tao beings from the Yin world were shocked and their pupils constricted, revealing a look of fear. The Blue Sky clan has made a move. Do you want to cause an all-out war between the Yin world and the Yang realm? The immortal king from the skeleton great cosmos roared. He was very wary. The matter of the primitive universe ends here. Take your people and get out of the primitive universe. The woman from the Blue Sky clan said coldly. Let's go. The immortal kings from the skeleton great cosmos, the true immortals from the Styx River great cosmos, and the other experts from the Yin world were very decisive. They quickly left with their people from their respective universes and headed toward the universe passage. The beings from the Yin world began to retreat, rushing toward the universe passage from all parts of the universe. In the past, the primitive universe was just a dilapidated universe. The experts of the Yang court did not care about it and could come and go as they pleased, seizing resources here. But now that the immortal king from the Blue Sky clan had intervened, they could only retreat. Although the primitive universe was located at the border between the Yang realm and the Yin world, it was still in the Yang realm's territory. If a war really broke out, it would be disadvantageous for the Yin world. Why don't you keep them here? Tang Feng asked the woman from the Blue Sky clan. It's not time for an all-out war yet. The woman from the Blue Sky clan shook her head. Tang Feng was silent for a while, then he cupped his fists and said, Thank you. According to the laws of the Yang court, you rose from the dilapidated universe and became an immortal. You can enter the Yang court again and receive its protection. Of course, there are conditions if you want to truly join the Yang court. Speaking of this, the woman from the Blue Sky clan waved her hand, and their figures quickly disappeared in front of the other beings in the universe. We're saved. Many people in the Azure Divine Realm could not help but cheer. It seemed that the primitive universe was safe. This time they had paid such a huge price, and 20 sub-immortals had self-destructed in exchange for a good result. Although Tang Feng seemed to be discussing something with the immortal king of the Blue Sky clan and other beings of the immortal path, it seemed that it would not be disadvantageous to the primitive universe. Otherwise, the experts of the Blue Sky clan would not have intervened. Chapter 52:12. It's a little strange. The firmament race has never interfered in the affairs of other great cosmoses. Back when the primitive universe was destroyed, they didn't even make a move. Why would they suddenly make a move this time? Ancestor Wu Nian whispered, very surprised. It's indeed a little strange. The other two primogenitors, the phoenix of the fiend race and Song Lin, were also puzzled. They were all immortal Tao beings who had survived from the previous era. They knew a lot and understood a lot. But no matter what, at least the primitive universe is saved. This is a good thing. In the end, the phoenix of the fiend race nodded. They waited quietly, waiting for Tang Feng's news. After a while, the void split open and Tang Feng's figure appeared. He took a step forward, landed on the highest mountain in the heart of the universe and sat down cross-legged. I'll consolidate my cultivation base now. You guys heal your injuries first. Tang Feng's voice was heard. Let's go. Junior Human King Ancestor Wu Nian and the others showed a trace of joy. They stepped forward and came to Tang Feng's side and sat down cross-legged. Lu Ming, let's go. Tang Feng has just broken through to the immortal realm and is consolidating his cultivation base now. We can also get some benefits by his side. It will be very useful for our recovery. Fei Huang said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and came to Tang Feng's side with Fei Huang and sat down cross-legged. The power is fading. Lu Ming felt that his power was rapidly fading. This was the power from the blood crystal of the Lord of the Taishang Celestial Dynasty. At this time it was quickly fading. In the end, a new blood crystal condensed in front of Lu Ming's chest. However, the size of this blood crystal was several times smaller than before. Only 1/5 of the original was left. So much has been consumed. Lu Ming's heart was heavy. Perhaps the lord of the Taishang celestial dynasty had planned to use that blood crystal to be reborn, but now that so much had been consumed, could it still be possible? There was not much hope in the first place, and now it might be even slimmer. If I have the ability in the future, I will definitely find a way to let Senior be reborn. Lu Ming muttered silently, and then put the blood crystal into his sea of consciousness. At the same time, the figure on the primordial god stone also disappeared. At this time, waves after waves of profound and powerful energy pervaded out from Tang Feng's body. Lu Ming inhaled the energy and the injuries on his body quickly healed. Tang Feng was consolidating his cultivation base, and mysterious energy constantly permeated out. The little human king, Fei Huang, thoughtless progenitor, and the others were absorbing this energy to heal their bodies and souls. Apart from them, the original origins of the Azure Divine Realm and the few remaining subimmortals were also absorbing this energy to heal themselves. In the previous battle, everyone's injuries were too severe. Especially Fei Huang, the junior human king, the three primogenitors, the Phoenix, and Song Qing. They had fought dozens of Ninth Tribulation subimmortals and had been on the brink of death several times. Their injuries were unimaginably severe. If they were to recover normally, they would need to sleep for endless years to slowly recover. But now, with the help of the energy that Tang Feng emitted from consolidating his cultivation, their injuries were actually quickly recovering. Having just confirmed his Tao and broken through the immortal realm, he would definitely receive the support of the mysterious energy. Moreover, what Tang Feng had broken through was not an ordinary immortal barrier. What he had achieved was not an ordinary true immortal. Relatively speaking, Lu Ming's injuries were considered light. He had the energy of the lord of the Taishang celestial dynasty to protect his body. Although he was also injured, his injuries were not that serious. In addition, the life force of the forbidden body was extremely strong. His injuries were completely healed in a short time. Lu Ming continued to cultivate. This is a rare opportunity. Tang Feng has just broken through, and this kind of energy can only be encountered by chance. It can refine his body and soul. When his cultivation base is completely consolidated, this kind of energy will be emitted again. Fei Huang's voice sounded in Lu Ming's mind. Senior, if that's the case, I'll go and bring Xiao Qing and the others here. Lu Ming replied. I've already sent out a clone to bring them. You can cultivate at ease. Fei Huang said. Only then did Lu Ming feel relieved. He closed his eyes and began to absorb this kind of energy to refine his soul and body. Sure enough, he felt that his soul and body were rapidly improving under the nourishment of this energy. His body and soul had already reached the level of the second tribulation. At this moment, they continued to climb. Not long after, Fei Huang's clone returned and brought Xian Yanqing, Tang Jun, Tang Jian, the first heavenly sword, the second divine sword, the third demon sword, Bubbles, Dandan, and the others. There were hundreds of people. Lu Ming's family and friends, as long as they were talented enough, were all brought here. His son Lu Shenhuang, granddaughter Lu Qi, disciple Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, and the others. There were also a group of experts from the Primitive Alliance. Everyone sat cross-legged in the surroundings, absorbing the energy and cultivating calmly. Qiuqiu flew out from Lu Ming's wrist. It opened its mouth wide and absorbed the energy in large mouthfuls. 2 hours later, Lu Ming felt that his body and soul had transformed at the same time. They had reached a higher level, and he had actually reached the level of 3 tribulations. It was rare to see a late-stage origin realm cultivator reach the level of a 3rd tribulation body and a 3rd tribulation soul. Boom. A powerful aura rose from Lu Ming's side. It was Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu was actually breaking through. In the Grand Supreme Immortal Capital, Qiuqiu had devoured a pseudo-immortal weapon of the dark-skinned old man, but it hadn't broken through because it couldn't refine the weapon well. But now, with the help of the energy from Tang Feng's breakthrough, it finally refined the weapon and broke through to peak origin realm. At this moment, Lu Ming and Qiuqiu weren't the only ones who had broken through. Most of the others had broken through. Xian Yanqing, Tang Jun, Autumn Moon, and the others had also made great progress in their bodies and souls. As they cultivated, the changes in the primitive universe became greater and greater. With the heart of the universe as the core, endless laws of order spread out in all directions. These laws of order were invisible to the naked eye, but they were like countless threads that connected all the continent fragments. These continent fragments broke through the void and quickly flew toward the heart of the universe. Not long after Lu Ming's body and soul broke through, some of the closer continent fragments had already flown over and merged with the heart of the universe. Rumble. One continent fragment after another connected together, forming an even larger continent. The primitive universe of the previous era was slowly recovering. It wouldn't be long before the primitive universe's original appearance would reappear. As the continent fragments gathered, the laws of order of the primitive universe became even more complete. The living beings of the primitive universe could come into contact with the laws of order more clearly. It was many times easier than before. Many experts were originally stuck in a realm and couldn't break through for many years. At this moment, the bottleneck began to loosen. Some people directly broke through and their realms increased. And as time passed, more and more people broke through. Many peak almighty existences broke through to the origin realm. It wasn't that their talent wasn't high, but that the cultivation environment in the past was too poor. The laws of order were incomplete and suppressed by the environment. Chapter 52:13. In the primitive universe, many people were breaking through. The people of the Primitive Alliance, the people of the Tsangqing Divine Realm, the primitive demon race, and the original races of the primitive universe. For example, the Buddha race, the Devil race, the Metal race, the 10 royal plant races, the Spirit race and so on, and the Quasi-Sage race. Many of these races in the universe who had been stuck at a bottleneck for a long time were also breaking through their cultivation. Not only peak divine masters broke through to the origin realm, but many other realms were also breaking through. As the primitive universe was perfected, it was destined to usher in a wave of breakthrough. This was the accumulation of the past, and it exploded at this moment. Not long after, Tang Feng finally stabilized his cultivation, and that strange energy also completely disappeared. Fei Huang, Junior Human King, the three ancestors, Phoenix, and Tsang Qing's injuries were about 60 to 70% better. This was already very rare. If they were allowed to recover step by step, it would be difficult for them to recover to this extent without dozens or hundreds of stellar years. Although they hadn't fully recovered yet with this foundation, they would recover very quickly in the future. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Qiuyu and the others came to Lu Ming's side one after another. Lu Ming also told them about the previous battle. Everyone trembled with fear and their hearts fluctuated. That. Tang Jun flew directly to Tang Feng with a happy smile on her face. Good, it's good that you're back. Looking at his daughter, Tang Feng also revealed a smile. Is that the sword ancestor? Xian Yanqing looked at Tang Feng with a complicated look in her eyes. At this time, Tang Feng also looked at Xian Yanqing. His eyes were as deep as the stars in universe and also somewhat complicated. After a long time, he nodded slightly at Xian Yanqing and revealed a smile. He already knew that the personality of Xian Yanqing in this life was this life, not the previous Tang Qing. Although she had the memories of the previous life to be precise, it was no longer the complete Tang Qing. It was just another person with the same memories. However, reincarnation was originally risky, and it was already very rare to be able to awaken the memories. Little Qing, go and pay him a visit. If you have any questions, go and ask him. Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's hand and said. Xian Yanqing hesitated for a moment before finally stepping forward and arriving in front of Tang Feng. Is she okay? Xian Yanqing said with concern in his eyes. Tang Feng smiled. He naturally knew who Xian Yanqing was asking about. Exin was his wife and the mother of Xian Yanqing, and Tang Jun. Xian Yanqing was still worried about the safety of his mother in his previous life, which meant that he still had feelings for them. That was enough. Don't worry. Although her injuries are serious, now that I've become an immortal, I'll definitely be able to find a way to heal her. Tang Feng nodded solemnly. Xian Yanqing's heart relaxed. Looking at Tang Feng, he finally said, I'm sorry. Then he turned around and walked over to Lu Ming, Lu Shenhuang and the others. On the side, Tang Jun, Tang Xiao, Fei Huang, First Heavenly Sword, and the others all sighed in their hearts. They looked at Tang Feng with a trace of heartache. How sad was it that his own daughter refused to acknowledge him in front of him? Right now, the most important thing is to reunite all the continent fragments and reappear in the Eldritch continent. I need to control the heart of the universe, which will take at least half a year. You all can go and do your own things. Tang Feng's voice spread across the entire place. Then, his figure disappeared into the ground. To be precise, he entered the depths of the heart of the universe. Suddenly, the rules of order emitted by the heart of the universe became stronger. The continent fragments all over the Eldritch universe quickly gathered here. Even the planets in the universe and the mother planets of the big races in the universe moved closer to the heart of the universe. The planets in the universe, the mother planets of the big races such as the dragon race's mother planet, were all evolved from the continent fragments. At this time they were naturally attracted. Even some ancient ruins were the same, moving closer to the heart of the universe. Rumble. At every moment, there were continent fragments flying over and gathering together. With the heart of the universe as the center, this continent was constantly growing bigger. Young master, should we go back? Now that all the continent fragments are converging here, the continent fragment where master and madam are at will also fly over. What if we meet the experts of the outerverse halfway? Xiao Yu said softly, a little worried. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. He had to be careful. The few continents that the Azure Divine Realm had moved to were located in remote areas, but they would definitely converge here. It was not impossible to meet the experts of the outerverse halfway. Wait a moment, I'll go ask a question. Lu Ming said. His figure flashed and he appeared in front of a person. This person was Han Ming. Senior Han Ming, we meet again. How are your injuries? Lu Ming asked. Fortunately, I won't die. I've already recovered 50 to 60%. Unfortunately, the 4 old fellows of the demi-human tribe were too cunning. They escaped, Han Ming replied, feeling very unhappy. Previously, he had almost died in the hands of the 4 sub-immortals of the demi-human tribe. Fortunately, he had a taboo body with extremely strong vitality. At the same time, he had the 9 tribulation armor, a sub-immortal weapon, to protect his body. However, he had almost died and his injuries were extremely serious. However, with the energy overflowing from Tang Feng's breakthrough, his injuries had already recovered by 50 to 60%. The 4 sub-immortals of the demi-human tribe were very cunning. When they saw Tang Feng showing signs of a successful breakthrough, they directly abandoned Han Ming and fled. That's good. Senior, I want to ask a question. Lu Ming said. You want to ask me why I gave you the Chaos Ring back then, right? Han Ming saw the question in Lu Ming's heart at a glance. Senior, do you know that the heart of the universe is in the Chaos Ring? Lu Ming asked. Nonsense, of course I know. I personally sealed that heart of the universe and refined it into the Chaos Ring. How can I not know? I gave it to you back then because I recognized the wrong person. Han Ming said. Lu Ming, recognized the wrong person. Lu Ming had thought of thousands of reasons, but he had never thought that it would be such a reason. I once obtained a strand of heaven's will in a ruin. I vaguely sensed that I would be in great trouble. In the future, there would be a new forbidden physique that would rise from the ashes and become an immortal. When I first escaped, I discovered that you had a forbidden body. I even thought that the person who could become an immortal was you. That's why I gave the chaotic ring to you and wanted to help you. But now, it seems that the person projected by the strand of fate was not you at all. It was Tang Feng. So I was wrong. Han Ming explained in detail. Lu Ming was really speechless. He had never thought that it would be such a reason. But at least the doubts in his heart were resolved. Goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left with Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Lu Shenhuang and the others. They returned to the continents that the Azure Divine Realm had moved to. These continents were indeed moving quickly in the direction of the heart of the universe. Lu Ming and the others stayed here. Chapter 52:14. The Eldritch Universe ushered in a new era. Countless continent fragments, which were scattered all over the universe, were all converging in one direction. In less than a year's time, all the continents would reunite. The Eldritch Universe of the previous era would reappear in the world. At this moment, the living beings of the Outerverse were retreating rapidly from the Eldritch Universe. The living beings of the Underworld were retreating the fastest. Those with true immortals who descended retreated from the Eldritch Universe under their lead. The living beings that didn't have true immortals descending were also rushing towards the universe channel. They already knew that a new immortal Dao elite was born in the Eldritch Universe. If they didn't leave now, they might never be able to leave. The living beings of the Yang Realm were also retreating. Almost all the Yang Realm's great universes had true immortals passing down orders for them to retreat. Some great universes even had immortal Dao elites descend and take away the living beings of the great universes. Sixth great uncle, why are we retreating? What? My fragment of the heart of the universe flew away. I asked sixth great uncle to help me get it back. In the Jade Clear Great Universe, an immortal Dao elite led Shan Xiong, Shaning, and the rest towards the universe passage. However, Shaning was extremely unwilling and kept pleading with the immortal Dao elite. Don't think about the fragment of the heart of the universe. The Eldritch Universe's heart of the universe has already fused. Someone has used the heart of the universe to attain Dao and become an immortal. It can't be taken away. The immortal Dao elite from the Jade Clear Great Universe shook his head. So what if he has become an immortal? Our Jade Clear Great Universe is filled with immortals. Why should we be afraid of a guy who has just become an immortal? Let's just kill him and take away the complete heart of the universe. Shaning said with reddened eyes. He had a complete mental breakdown. The fragment of the heart of the universe had already fallen into his hands. It was the foundation of his Tao. Now that it had flown away, he was on the verge of hysteria. This is the order of the Eldritch clan. Wake up. Can't you attain Tao without the fragment of the heart of the universe? The immortal Tao elite from the Jade Clear Great Universe scolded. What? The Eldritch clan? Shan Ying's expression changed drastically as he shuddered. Even if he had 10,000 guts, he would not dare to disobey the order of the Firmament clan. Sixth great uncle, the Elysian clan has never interfered with the conflicts between the Yang realm and the other great cosmoses. They would only intervene when there is a war with the underworld. Why would they suddenly intervene this time? Shan Xiong asked. He was much calmer than Shan Ying. I don't know either. The immortal Tao being from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos shook his head. He couldn't understand why the Firmament race would suddenly intervene. However, according to the Lord of the Firmament clan, he won't give the primitive universe any preferential treatment. Therefore, if you meet people from the primitive universe on the battlefield or in the Sun Court, just do what you should do. Don't worry. The immortal Tao being from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos changed its tone. Understood, sixth granduncle. Shan Xiong's eyes flashed with killing intent. Jade Clear Great Cosmos, Holy Light Great Cosmos. Everyone's multiverses were retreating, and as time passed, the number of outerverse life forms in the vaster universe dwindled. On this day, another group of people appeared at the universe passage. This was a being from the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos. The Primordial Demon Great Cosmos was ranked 12th among the great cosmoses of the Yang realm. It was also a top-notch great cosmos. One could see some special figures standing in the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos. Zixien. It was actually Zixien of the demon race. Ever since Zixien had merged with the demon ancestor blood crystal, her strength had soared and she had become the leader of the demon race. Besides Zixien were a few demon race experts. They all stood respectfully behind the immortal Tao being from the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos. That's right. Zixien had led the demon race to the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos and was preparing to leave the primitive universe with the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos. As for the other demons, they had already been stored in their spatial treasures. We have to leave in the end. Lu Ming, let's meet again if fate wills it. Zixien sighed softly. After all, the demon race didn't belong to the primitive universe. If they stayed in the primitive universe, the life forms of the primitive universe wouldn't welcome them. It would also be detrimental to their own development. Even if their status was low, joining the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos was better than staying in the primitive universe. Let's go. An immortal Tao being from the Primordial Demon Great Cosmos waved his hand and led everyone into the universe passage. A month passed by in a flash. At this moment, almost all the life forms of the outerverse had retreated. The vast primitive universe had once again become empty. The number of continent fragments that had merged also increased. It turned out that a huge continent had appeared where the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm was. This was formed by the merging of countless continent fragments. Of course, this was far from the end. Some of the continent fragments that were too far away had yet to reach them. However, it had already begun to take shape. This continent could already be called the primitive universe. 5 months later, half a year had passed since the great battle in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. The continent fragment that Lu Ming and the rest were in had finally merged with the primitive universe. What a vast land. It needs rich energy. Lu Ming and the rest flew high into the sky and looked around. They couldn't see the end of it. It was too vast. The primitive universe was already 80% the size of the primitive universe of the previous era. The primitive chi was extremely rich and much stronger than the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. Due to the collision of the continent fragments, huge mountain ranges had appeared on the continent. They were full of vitality and flourishing plants. There were even divine medicines. If this continued, many top divine medicines would soon be born. The people of the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm and the Primitive Universe Alliance had spread out and flew across the vast continent. At the easternmost part of the continent, planets had merged with the primitive universe. These planets were all life forms of the universe in the past. Although there had been endless wars over the years and many races in the universe had gone extinct, there were still many races that survived. Now these races were extremely excited. They flew across the vast continent, looking for a place to establish their race. Now, there were too few life forms on the primitive universe. It was not enough to describe it as a sparsely populated place. There were various cultivation holy lands that could be chosen at will. The native life forms of the primitive universe slowly spread out and took root on the primitive universe. At this time, Tang Feng's figure reappeared in the sky. The primitive universe was already 80% complete. There was no need for him to do the rest. The remaining continent fragments would slowly fly over and merge on their own. It's time to completely deal with the demi-humans. Who wants to come with me? Tang Feng's voice sounded. Demi-humans. Heavenly Palace. Destroy. Immediately, many people flew towards Tang Feng. Yue, let's go together. Lu Ming looked at Ling Yue. The elf race had been destroyed by the Heavenly Palace. Ling Yue had always wanted to flatten the Heavenly Palace. Now the time had come. Chapter 52:15. Ling Yue nodded and flew toward Tang Feng with Lu Ming. Xian Yinxing, Qiu Moon and the others were also with them. Not only them but also Tang Xiao, the first heavenly sword, and the others. A large number of figures flew toward Tang Feng. Most of the people in the Great Desolate Alliance had great enmity with the Heavenly Palace. Not only that, but many people in the Azure Divine Realm also moved. In the last era, the demi-humans were just slaves of the human race. However, in the battle half a year ago, the Heavenly Palace sent out 4 sub-immortals to deal with the Azure Divine Realm. The humans in the Azure Divine Realm naturally couldn't bear it. Let's go. Tang Feng waved his hand, and a force wrapped around everyone. He took a step forward and the void turned upside down. The next moment they appeared in a void in the Eastern Universe. In the dark and cold void, 5 palaces floated. The 5 palaces were the 5 heavenly palaces. One could see figures flashing in the Heavenly Palace. They were all demi-humans. Tang Feng waved his hand, and a large number of figures appeared in the void. Activate the array. As soon as they saw Lu Ming and the others, the demi-humans roared. Suddenly, the 5 heavenly palaces were filled with dense runes. They were all top origin level arrays, and with the origin bones as the array foundation, they were solid and immortal. Humph! Tang Feng snorted and killing intent flashed in his eyes. Since he entered the primitive universe, he had been besieged by the demi-humans many times. Of his 2 wives, one was dead and the other was injured. This debt should have been settled long ago. Tang Feng didn't make a move, but 5 sword lights burst out from his eyes and turned into a shocking giant sword, slashing at the 5 heavenly palaces. It was unstoppable. This was a true immortal's attack. Origin-level arrays and defenses were like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Bang bang bang, the sword lights slashed down and the 5 heavenly palaces all exploded. A large number of figures flew out, screaming in panic. Tang Feng frowned. He didn't find any sub-immortals among the demi-humans. There was not a single sub-immortal. In particular, he didn't see any familiar faces or people who had fought with him before, such as the Yi Immortal and Yi Chu. Lu Ming and the others immediately realized the problem. Yi Immortal and Yi Qiuxian aren't here. Lu Ming scanned the area with his spiritual awareness and found no trace of Yi Immortal or Yi Qiuxian. Even some of the younger prodigies of the demi-human tribe didn't see him. Tang Feng extended his hand and grabbed. A peak reciprocity old man was caught in Tang Feng's hand, unable to resist at all. Tang Feng reached out and tapped the space between the man's eyebrows. This was the beginning of the soul search. A moment later, Tang Feng waved his hand, and the demi-human elder turned to dust. The higher-ups of the demi-human race have left, including a group of young geniuses. I don't know where they went. These people have been abandoned. Tang Feng said. Everyone's face sank. It seems like the Yi Immortal and the others took the sub-immortals and a group of prodigies of the demi-human tribe and left the primitive universe. They might have joined the Holy Light Great Cosmos. Lu Ming said. It wasn't hard to guess. Obviously, the Yi Immortal and the others took away a group of core forces of the demi-human tribe. The reason why they didn't take away all the demi-humans was most likely intentional. Taking them away together would cause too much of a commotion, and they were afraid of attracting Tang Feng's attention. The 4 sub-immortals of the demi-human tribe had participated in the battle in the Azure Divine Realm. They most likely knew that Tang Feng had become an immortal. If they took all the demi-humans away, it would easily attract Tang Feng's attention and they would be attacked. At that time, no one would be able to escape. Taking away a small group of core forces and leaving most of the demi-humans behind to attract the attention of Tang Feng and the others. What a ruthless method. In order to escape, they were willing to sacrifice an entire tribe. You can escape for a while, but can you escape for a lifetime? Tang Feng said coldly. If you want to make a move, do it. In the end, Tang Feng spoke. He didn't make a move. His main enemies were the Yi Immortal Yi Chu Zhangquang, and those sub-immortal old fellows. Moreover, with his current status and cultivation, he disdained to make a move on these ordinary demi-humans. Kill. These demi-humans can't be left alive. Kill. Tang Feng didn't make a move, but many others did. In the Great Desolate Alliance, there were many large tribes that had been destroyed by the Heavenly Palace in the past. This kind of deep hatred couldn't be easily forgotten. One figure after another charged toward the demi-humans. Kill. Ling Yue also rushed out. She drew her bow and an arrow pierced through the void, blasting one of the origin source experts of the demi-humans. Ling Yue had obtained the Immortal's inheritance in the Immortal Graveyard. She had improved a lot in all aspects, and her battle strength was extremely strong and her foundation was deep. Now, her cultivation had also reached the peak of early-stage origin source. With her battle strength, it was not difficult for her to kill ordinary mid-stage origin source experts of the Heavenly Human Tribe. One had to know that the Heavenly Human Tribe was also suppressed in the Great Desolate Universe, especially at the origin source level. The suppression was even stronger. In a one-on-one battle at the same level, they were often not a match for the origin source of the Great Desolate Universe. Kill. Ling Yue shouted. Her beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent. At this moment, scenes of the elf tribe and her father constantly flashed through her mind. Her clansmen had been annihilated, and her relatives had been killed. This was an irreconcilable hatred. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, terrifying arrows were shot out one after another. Ordinary early-stage and mid-stage origin source experts couldn't block her arrows. In addition, she also aimed at the Divine Lord Heavenly Human Tribe. Every arrow took the life of a Heavenly Human Tribe member. Die. With a furious roar, a Heavenly Human Tribe elder stared at Ling Yue and charged toward her. This was a peak origin source expert. His battle strength was not weaker than the master of the Heavenly Palace. This was the previous master of the Heavenly Palace. After abdicating, he had been in seclusion in the fifth Heavenly Palace and rarely appeared in the world. How could an old fox like him not know that they had been abandoned? The Yi Immortal left silently with a group of sub-immortals and a group of geniuses from the Heavenly Palace. Even he didn't know. Now that he saw Tang Feng and the others charging over, he knew that they had been abandoned. He knew that Tang Feng and the others would definitely not let them go. He might as well go all out. Even if he died, he would drag someone down with him. Boom. Lu Ming took a step forward and threw out a punch. The former lord of the Heavenly Palace let out a miserable shriek as his body exploded into pieces. With Lu Ming's current battle strength, killing ordinary peak origin source experts was too easy. Lu Ming protected Ling Yue by her side. If Ling Yue couldn't deal with it, he would deal with it. In this area, screams rose and fell. This was a completely one-sided massacre. The experts of the Heavenly Palace had all left. How could the remaining people have any morale? Moreover, with a true immortal like Tang Feng holding down the fort, there wouldn't be any accidents at all. Half an hour later, the people who were attacking stopped. Including Ling Yue, they all stopped. The main thing was that the experts of the demi-humans had all been killed. The Divine Lords and Origin Source experts were almost all wiped out. The rest were all below the Divine Lord level. In their eyes, those below the Divine Lord level weren't worth killing. Moreover, there were a large number of ordinary demi-humans. Although they had a deep hatred for the demi-humans, they couldn't slaughter ordinary demi-humans who couldn't fight back. Chapter 52:16. Leader, what should we do with the rest of the demi-humans? Lion asked Tang Feng. Tang Feng was now the leader of the alliance. I'll do it, Tang Feng said. He reached out and grabbed the air. Suddenly, the world turned upside down, and the shadows of several worlds appeared in the void. Heavenly Prison. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. One of the worlds was where the Heavenly Palace used to imprison the other races. It was called the Heavenly Prison. Lu Ming had been there before. Lu Ming didn't know about the other worlds. However, they were vast and huge. It shouldn't be a minor world, but a medium-class world. Several huge vortexes suddenly appeared, erupting with a powerful devouring force that enveloped all the demi-humans. The densely packed demi-humans did not have the slightest ability to resist and were swallowed into these worlds. After a while, all the demi-humans were swallowed into those worlds. Not a single one was left. The demi-humans are all sealed in those worlds. They will be the training grounds of the primitive universe in the future, Tang Feng said. That's a good idea. Many people's eyes lit up. It was impossible for them to slaughter the ordinary demi-humans, but it was absolutely impossible for them to ignore them. They could seal all the demi-humans in different worlds according to their cultivation level. In the future, the geniuses of the primitive universe could enter these worlds to kill the demi-humans and train themselves, killing two birds with one stone. Now it's time to deal with those vermin. Tang Feng's eyes swept across the universe. Then he waved his hand and led everyone back to the primitive universe. Tang Feng didn't stop. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. He's going to make a move on the major forbidden lands, Ancestor Wu Yen said. Everyone was shocked. Sword Ancestor Tang Feng was going to make a move on the major forbidden lands. This was definitely an earth-shattering event. Now, the creatures of the Outerverse had left the primitive universe, but the major forbidden lands still hadn't made a move. At most, they would call back their own people and hide in the forbidden lands. Could Tang Feng do it? One had to know that the major forbidden lands had crossed countless years and came to the primitive universe a long time ago. In the previous era, when the human kings suppressed the world, they still existed and hadn't been destroyed. This showed how powerful they were. Now that Tang Feng had just become an immortal, how could he deal with the major forbidden lands? Many people showed a worried look. Although Sword Ancestor Tang Feng is extremely talented, I'm afraid he is not an ordinary genuine immortal. Moreover, he rose from the ashes and became the first immortal after the destruction of the untainted universe. As long as he is in the untainted universe, he can borrow the power of the untainted universe and increase his combat strength by many times. However, there are immortal kings in the Forbidden Lands. I'm afraid even if Tang Feng can borrow the power of the untainted universe, he is not a match for immortal kings. The old ancestor of the Quasi-Saint tribe, Song Lin, was also worried. All the races and living beings were well aware of this. Right now, there were many things waiting to be done in the great desolate universe. Compared to the other complete great cosmoses, the difference was too great. If they wanted to have the right to speak, if they wanted to rise up, if they wanted to protect their homeland, they had to work together. Now that the land was vast and the population was sparse, resources were abundant, and there was no need to compete for resources. This would also help to unite all the living beings in the primordial universe. He's not an impulsive person. He should have a plan, Fei Huang said. She had fought side by side with Tang Feng for many years and knew him very well. Peer. Thoughtless primogenitor performed a hand seal, and a huge image appeared in the void. The land of extreme evil. Lu Ming recognized at a glance that the image was the land of extreme evil. Tang Feng stood in the air above the land of extreme evil, and his eyes were like divine swords. At this moment, the land of extreme evil was facing a great enemy. A large formation was shining with dazzling light, enveloping the entire land of extreme evil. The large formation was extremely terrifying, and its aura was shocking. Even through the image there was a kind of pressure that made people breathless. This is one of the foundations of the major forbidden lands. The immortal formation uses an immortal weapon as the formation base. It's extremely powerful and can kill true immortals. Even immortal kings can't break it. This is also one of the reasons why the major forbidden lands can exist for so long. Of course, it's also because the lords of the major forbidden lands are strong enough. They are all immortal kings. Ancestor Wu Yen explained. Immortal formation. Lu Ming was shocked. He had entered the forbidden lands more than once. Dandan had once said that there was a terrifying formation in the forbidden lands, but it had never been awakened. Lu Ming had also seen it with the Demon King rune. Now the immortal formation was awakened, emitting endless light, like a bright lamp in the dark and cold void. Senior, I've heard that the Forbidden Grounds have come to the ancient desolation universe a long time ago. Why is that? Someone asked the ancestors. We don't know either. It happened very long ago. At that time, the Magi and demons hadn't risen yet. The primitive universe wasn't strong in the entire world of the living. It was ranked after 10,000, and there were no records of it in the ancient books. Ancestor Wu Yen shook his head. Everyone was shocked. Even the ancestors didn't know about it, which showed how long ago it was. But it was strange. At that time, the primitive universe hadn't risen yet. The Magi and demons hadn't competed for hegemony, and the human race was even weaker. The three human kings were far from being born. The primitive universe was ranked after 10,000 among the tens of thousands of universes in the world of the living. It could be said that it was ordinary and unremarkable. Why would the immortal kings of the Yin world bring people to the primitive universe and turn it into a forbidden land? Over the years, a large number of Yin world experts entered the primitive universe. The creatures of the Yin world were more familiar with the origin of these forbidden lands. The origin of these forbidden lands was gradually spread, so Lu Ming and the others knew a lot more about the origin of the forbidden lands than before. The more they knew, the stranger it was. The predecessors of these forbidden lands were the major races of the Yin world. They had immortal kings and could be said to be very powerful. But why had they decided to invade the Urwild's universe and turn it into a forbidden land, and refuse to leave? They couldn't figure it out. I heard some news from the ancestors of the monsters. It is said that the reason why the races of the Een world came to the primitive universe and turned it into a forbidden land and didn't want to leave is to find an opportunity to break through, the Phoenix of the Monsters said. An opportunity to break through? You mean to break through to the Immortal King realm? Ancestor Wu Nian's expression changed drastically. That's right. The Phoenix of the Monsters nodded solemnly. Impossible. How can there be an opportunity to break through to the Immortal King realm in the primitive universe? If there really is, my father wouldn't have been stuck at the Immortal King realm back then. The little human king shook his head in disbelief. It's just a rumor from the ancestors of the monsters. I don't believe it either. The Phoenix of the Monsters also shook her head. Chapter 52:17. Seniors, is there a higher realm above the Immortal King? Lu Ming asked curiously. Many people also looked at the true immortals. Over the years, the invasion of the Outerverse powerhouses had brought a lot of information. Didn't they say that the three human kings were all peak experts in the cosmic sea? Didn't they say that the Immortal King was the peak? Was there a realm above it? I'm not sure. When I was at my peak, I was far from the Immortal King. As for whether the realm above the Immortal King exists or not, I'm not sure. Phoenix of the demon race said. It's just a legend. Anyway, I've never seen a living being of that level. Ancestor Wu Nian also shook his head. There is. At this moment, the human king spoke again. Everyone looked at the junior human king curiously. The human king had already stepped into the Immortal King realm when he was at his peak. And his father, human king Shen Yuan, was a peak existence among the Immortal Kings, reaching the limit of the Immortal King. Whether there was a realm above the Immortal King, who knew better than human king Shen Yuan whether there was a realm above the Immortal King? Father once said that the Immortal King had not reached the limit of cultivation. He sensed that there should be a realm above the Immortal King. It was mysterious and unfathomable, but it definitely existed. Moreover, he also said that there was definitely an existence of that level in the Elysian clan. As for whether there was an existence of that level in the top 10 great cosmoses of the Yang realm, Father did not say. At that time I was still young. After that, I never heard Father mention it again. However, I always felt that there might be an existence of that level in the top 10 great cosmoses. The human king said. I once heard people from other great cosmoses talk about it in the Yang court. Someone said that once one of the three human kings of the primitive universe broke through, the primitive universe would immediately enter the top 10 of the Yang realm. Therefore, there might not be an existence of that level in the top 10. Song Lin said. Then, the immortals fell silent and did not say anything more. Isn't the Immortal King the end point? It should be. Otherwise, why would human King Shen Yuan be seriously injured and die? Lu Ming's thoughts were flying, but his attention was immediately attracted by the scene in the void. Clang. Sword light soared into the sky. Tang Feng directly made his move. The dazzling sword light slashed toward the land of extreme evil. Tang Feng borrowed the energy of the desolate universe, and its power was unparalleled. Boom. The sword light slashed onto the array, causing the array to shake violently. The members of the extreme evil race in the formation were pale and sweating profusely. The sword light was too terrifying. If it weren't for the formation blocking it, they would definitely have been turned into ashes by the sword light. Why do you have to be so overbearing? I can promise you that my clan will only stay in the forbidden grounds and not go out. How about it? In the depths of the land of extreme evil, a figure stood there, shrouded in endless power, emitting a terrifying aura. This was the Lord of the abominable forbidden land, an existence who had been slumbering for countless years, a true king of the immortal Tao. Get out of the primitive universe, you vermin! Tang Feng shouted coldly. His attitude was firm and unquestionable. These forbidden lands were like ticking time bombs in the great desolate universe. Who knew when they would explode? Humph, you're just a brat who just became an immortal. Do you really think you can do anything to us? Even in the previous epic, the three sovereign personages, the 10,000 Fiends Monarch, and that Supreme Shaman King could not do anything to us. Do you think you can? A gloomy voice sounded. It was an old man standing behind the Lord of the abominable forbidden land. He was a powerful true immortal. Not only were there immortal kings in the forbidden lands, but there were also true immortals. He did not take Tang Feng seriously at all. They had an extremely powerful immortal formation with immortal weapons as the base. Under the activation of immortal kings and true immortals, its power was boundless. Even immortal kings could not break it. In the previous epic, even sovereign personages would have to pay a price if they tried to break in. Kill? Tang Feng did not bother to talk nonsense and attacked again. The sword light was shocking. Endless rules and order covered the battle sword, raising Tang Feng's battle strength to the peak. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Endless sword light fell like raindrops, slashing on the immortal formation of the abominable Forbidden Land. The immortal formation shook violently. The Lord of the Forbidden Land's expression changed. He shouted softly, and immortal king-level energy poured into the immortal formation to strengthen the power of the immortal formation. Immortal king-level battle strength. This person has just broken through the immortal realm. How can he unleash immortal king-level battle strength? The old true immortal of the extreme evil tribe shouted in shock. It was unbelievable and unbelievable. Even if he could borrow the power of the primitive universe, it could not be so exaggerated. Amazing, really amazing. After consolidating his realm, he can actually unleash immortal king-level battle strength. His future is promising. Even sovereign personages were not like this when they were young. Ancestor thoughtless sighed. Sovereign personage was silent and did not refute. Tang Feng was really amazing. He also agreed with this statement. He was called sovereign personage because he was absolutely amazing. He was not very old, but he had reached the immortal king realm. Everyone was optimistic that he would be the fourth sovereign personage of the human race. However, he seemed to be inferior to Tang Feng when he had just become an immortal. Previously, Tang Feng had just broken through, so he was not a match for immortal kings and was suppressed by the immortal kings of the Great Bone Cosmos. However, after half a year of consolidating and borrowing the power of the primitive universe, Tang Feng had reached the immortal king level. It could be said that in the primitive universe, Tang Feng was equivalent to an immortal king. At this moment, even the immortal king of the extreme evil tribe had an ugly expression. This person is too monstrous. He has just become an immortal and he can already do this. If he becomes an immortal king in the future, how strong will he be with the power of the primitive universe? When that time comes, will we still have a chance of survival? Suddenly, a figure appeared outside the land of extreme evilness. Its aura was terrifying, and it was not weaker than the immortal king of the extreme evil tribe. Nine demonic spider. Tang Feng narrowed his eyes. It was very likely the lord of the Nine demonic spider. Old spider, what are you going to do? In another direction a figure also appeared. It was burly and wrapped in pitch-black iron armor, emitting a gloomy aura. Another immortal king from the Dark Heaven warrior clan. Get rid of him as soon as possible. Otherwise, when he grows up, there will be no place for us, the immortal king of the extreme evil tribe said. Nine demonic spiders immortal king spoke. 8 spider legs extended from the depths of his back, like 8 exceptional divine spears, able to pierce through the great universe. The expressions of Ancestor Wu Nian, Lu Ming, and the others changed drastically. The lords of the Forbidden Lands had moved one after another to kill Tang Feng. If they really attacked, it would be a fatal blow. Tang Feng would definitely not be able to block it. Everyone's palms couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. They comforted themselves that Tang Feng should have a backup plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a hurry to attack the Forbidden Lands. You probably forgot that this is the Yang realm and you are from the Yin realm, Tang Feng sneered. Facing the immortal kings, his expression was still calm. When Tang Feng's voice fell, one figure after another suddenly appeared around him. 1, 2, 3, there were a total of 8, all of them immortal kings. Chapter 52:18. Around Tang Feng, figures appeared one after another. These figures had unparalleled power, and their auras swallowed the universe. They were indomitable as if they were going to fill the void of the universe. Every single one of them was larger than the entire land of extreme evilness. They were all immortal kings from various top great cosmoses in the Yang realm. For example, Sacred Light Great Cosmos, Jade Clear Great Cosmos, Shanqing Great Cosmos, Taiqing Great Cosmos, Celestial Insect Great Cosmos, etc. They were all from the top 10 great cosmoses in the Yang realm. One of them was a woman with peerless beauty and an unparalleled aura. She was none other than the female immortal king from the heaven race. The faces of the lords of the Forbidden Lands changed drastically. They retreated and prepared for a battle. You want to interfere? The lord of the Nine demonic spider asked. Nonsense, the Eldritch universe belongs to the Yang realm. You people from the Yin realm have been hiding here. If you don't leave, you can stay here forever. The burly man said. He was an immortal king from the Shanqing Great Cosmos. Leave as soon as possible. We won't interfere. If you don't leave, we can only leave all of you here. The female immortal king of the heaven race also said. The lords of the Forbidden Lands looked terrible. They naturally had an important purpose for staying in the Eldritch universe. They were unwilling to leave after waiting for countless years. Moreover, if they really wanted to fight, there were still 8 Forbidden Lands in the Eldritch universe. The lords of the Forbidden Lands were all top immortal kings. If the 8 of them joined forces, they might not be afraid of the immortal kings of the Yang realm. However, this was the Yang realm. The immortal kings of the Yang realm would come to help at any time. If a battle really broke out, they would definitely die. Now that the other party let them leave safely, they were obviously afraid of their strength and didn't want to risk their lives. What should they do? The lords of the Forbidden Lands thought quickly. They felt strange. In the past, they hid in the Eldritch universe. It wasn't that the great cosmoses of the Yang realm didn't know, but they had never interfered. Why would they suddenly interfere now? If you don't leave, you can stay here forever. The female immortal king of the heaven race said coldly. Her aura was cold and murderous. Okay, let's go. In the end, one of the lords of the Forbidden Lands spoke. The other lords of the Forbidden Lands sighed, but there was nothing they could do. Since the Firmament clan had interfered, they had to leave even if they didn't want to. Otherwise they would die. Apart from the Yellow Sky clan, no other great cosmos or clan in the entire universe could go against the Firmament clan. Unless they brought over the Yellow Sky clan. However, it was not the time for the final battle yet. The Yellow Sky clan would not risk their lives to fight the Heaven clan for some selfish reasons. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, in the dark a figure left. The various immortal kings of the Yang realm had cold expressions on their faces. They were not surprised. Those who left in secret were the lords of other forbidden lands. They had arrived a long time ago, but they never showed themselves, hiding in the dark. It was clear that the lords of the Forbidden Grounds had discussed in secret and agreed to retreat. Rumble. Not long after, an ancient city flew out from the land of extreme evil. It broke through the void and flew toward the universe passage. At the same time, the situation was similar in the other forbidden lands. All sorts of treasures flew out from the lands that had been hidden for countless years. Not too long after, the 8 great forbidden lands all withdrew, not a single one remaining. Tang Feng, we've already done what we promised you. We don't owe each other anything. A figure shrouded in pure white holy light said coldly. This person was an immortal king from the holy light great cosmos. After saying that, this immortal king's figure moved and disappeared without a trace. Some of the remaining immortal kings did not say a word and disappeared with a step. Some said a few polite words to Tang Feng and disappeared one after another. The last female immortal king of the Firmament clan also smiled at Tang Feng in a friendly manner and left the chaotic universe. Tang Feng returned to the chaotic universe. Tang Feng, what conditions did you reach with them? Why did these immortal kings of the Outerverse help to expel the various forbidden lands? Fei Huang asked curiously. It's very simple. I agreed to let the beings of the various great cosmoses leave and let bygones be bygones. They agreed to help expel the various forbidden lands. Tang Feng said. I see. Fei Huang, Lu Ming, and the others were enlightened. With Tang Feng's strength, with the help of the universe's power, he was already comparable to an immortal king. If he wanted to keep those beings and geniuses of the Outerverse, the true immortals and immortal kings of the Outerverse might not be able to protect all of them. Tang Feng let them go, and the other party agreed to join forces to expel the various forbidden lands. I have a feeling that it's not that simple. In the last era, the Firmament clan and the other great cosmoses completely ignored the various forbidden lands. Some people speculated that this was the method of the various great cosmoses to restrain the chaotic universe, lest the chaotic universe rise too quickly. But now, why did they agree to expel the various forbidden lands so easily? The little human king was puzzled. If the Firmament clan or the other great cosmoses wanted to help the chaotic universe expel the various forbidden lands, why would they wait until now? In the last era, it had already been done. Could it be that they saw that the chaotic universe was in ruins and their strength was insignificant, so they didn't care? Everyone couldn't figure it out for a while, so they stopped thinking about it. Next, there is one more important thing that concerns whether the chaotic universe can return to Yang Court. Tang Feng's tone changed. Yang Court has made a condition? Ancestor Wu Nian's eyes lit up. These former true immortals knew that if they wanted to join Yang Court, not only did they need a local true immortal to oversee it, but they also had to fulfill certain conditions. Yes, but it's very difficult. Tang Feng nodded. Then Tang Feng glanced at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Tang Xiao, Lion and the others and said, maybe you don't know the benefits of joining Yang Court. Let me tell you in detail. In the world of the living, if a great cosmos wanted to develop, it had to join Yang Court. First, joining Yang Court would give them protection. Without the protection of Yang Court, they would be attacked by the Yin world. If they were attacked by the Yin world, they would be destroyed. Second, joining Yang Court would give them the resources of Yang Court, which were crucial for the development of the great cosmos. Yang Court controlled the top resources in the world of the living and the top cultivation sacred ground. With these resources, the cultivation speed of many elites would be greatly accelerated. The upper limit of the future would also be increased. Not only would it affect the elites, but it would also affect the cultivation of all the beings in the entire great cosmos. For example, the chaotic universe's current location was close to the border between the world of the living and the Yin world. It was extremely far away from the Yang Universe C. If it was too far away from the Universe C, it would be more difficult to connect the Universe Bridge. Even if the Universe Bridge was connected, it would be more difficult to comprehend the origin because of the distance. Although cultivators could enter the Universe C through the Universe Bridge, they didn't actually enter the Universe C. However, it was not really entering the cosmic ocean. It was just a reflection of the cosmic ocean, projecting the cosmic ocean into one's consciousness. However, the cultivators themselves felt as if their consciousness had entered the cosmic ocean. Chapter 52:19. The further the universe was from the Universe C, the more illusory the reflection would be, and the weaker the energy of the Universe C would be. The closer one was to the Universe C, the more realistic the reflection would be, and the faster one would be able to comprehend the origin. After joining the Yang Court, as long as one fulfilled certain conditions, the primitive universe would be able to move closer to the Universe C. It was said that the firmament universe was the closest to the Universe C among the tens of thousands of universes in the Yang world. The other top 10 universes were also very close to the Universe C. These benefits could only be obtained by joining the Yang Court. No universe could be independent. If one didn't join the Universe C, not only would it be difficult for them to develop, but they wouldn't be protected by the Yang Court and would be destroyed by the Yin world sooner or later. There were many things waiting to be done in the primitive universe, so they needed to join the Yang Court and obtain the resources to cultivate. Of course, the resources couldn't be given for free. They had to pay a price. After Tang Feng's explanation, everyone knew that joining the Yang Court was very important. The Yang Court has already set the conditions. If the primitive universe wants to join the Yang Court again, you have to fulfill one condition. No, to be precise, there are 3 conditions. First, a perfected immortal from the primitive universe must kill a perfected immortal from the Yin world. Second, a subimmortal from the primitive universe must kill 9 subimmortals from the Yin world. Third, the origin of the primitive universe must kill 3 top monsters from the Yin world and accumulate 3,000 battle merits. Tang Feng said. What? Why are the conditions so harsh? The 3 ancestral patriarchs, Phoenix, Song Lin, and the others were all shocked. Song Lin even exclaimed. Lu Ming and the others also looked solemn. They knew that this condition was very difficult. Killing a perfected immortal from the Yin world. Only Tang Feng could do it, but perfected immortals were known as eternal immortals. How could they be so easy to kill? Besides, Tang Feng had just broken through. If you want to kill a perfected immortal from the Yin world, you have to enter the immortal level battlefield. The immortal level battlefield is full of dangers and experts. You can't use the power of the primitive universe in the immortal level battlefield, and you just broke through. If you want to kill a perfected immortal from the Yin world, I'm afraid. Ancestral Patriarch Thoughtless was worried. You don't have to worry about me. Since I've become an immortal, I'm invincible. Tang Feng spoke. His tone was neither fast nor slow, yet it revealed an undefeatable confidence and an undefeatable belief. Thinking of the miracles Tang Feng had created along the way, Thoughtless Primogenitor and the others did not say anything more. The second condition isn't easy. To kill 9 level 9 subimmortals, one must be a subimmortal. Seniors, all of you were once true immortals or immortal kings. Although your cultivation realm has dropped, you can't be considered a subimmortal. You don't meet the conditions. In the end, Tang Feng's gaze landed on Fei Huang. Currently, there were very few subimmortals in the primitive universe, and their cultivation levels were not high. They could only rely on Fei Huang. Leave the 9 ninth tribulation subimmortals to me. Fei Huang said. Yes. Tang Feng nodded, clearly trusting Fei Huang a lot. What I'm most worried about is the third condition. Tang Feng continued, the third condition is the most difficult. You have to kill 3 top geniuses of the Yin world. Moreover, these 3 geniuses must be geniuses on the Yin world geniuses ranking. What? Must he be a monster on the monster ranking of the underworld? Aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me? Song Lin was shocked. The other incomplete immortals had unpleasant expressions too. The Yin world didn't have an origin ranking, but there was an origin realm monster ranking. Those who could be on the monster ranking were all top geniuses of the younger generation. This was because there were only 200 people on the monster ranking. There were tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the Yin world. Including the Yellow Sky clan, there were only 200 people. On average, there was only one person in 1 or 200 great cosmoses. These 200 people were all peerless geniuses, peerless geniuses. If they were brought to the mortal realm, they could easily enter the origin role. Who could deal with the current primitive universe? Everyone looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had hope, but his cultivation was too low. He was only at the late-stage origin realm. The most important thing is that one of the 3 geniuses has a specific name. He's called Shueshenzong. As for the other 2, as long as they're on the monster ranking, it's fine. Tang Feng said. Is Shueshenzong very strong? Fei Huang understood Tang Feng better. The moment she saw Tang Feng's expression, she could guess some things. Very strong. I've asked the true immortals of the outer verse. He's from the Prometha cosmos and is ranked 36th on the monster ranking. He's very young and has endless potential. Many people think he can make it to the top 20 in the future. Tang Feng said. At this moment, the 3 primogenitors, Zhang Lin, and the others' expressions turned ugly. This condition was no longer difficult. It was simply harsh. Killing 3 geniuses on the monster ranking was already extremely difficult. Moreover, one of them had been designated. If this person hid somewhere and didn't come out, how could they kill him? Moreover, this person was a peerless genius ranked 36th on the monster ranking. Such a person's battle strength was ridiculously strong. He was young and had endless potential. His battle strength could increase at any time. How could they kill him? How could they kill him? As for the 3,000 battle merits, it wasn't important. Relatively speaking, it was easier to obtain. Such harsh conditions. They're clearly deliberately making things difficult for us. Zhang Lin Path. I originally thought that those people from the Yang court would change their character and not make things difficult for our primitive universe. I didn't expect them to still be the same. The junior human king snorted coldly. The 3 conditions were each more difficult than the last. Which great cosmos that had just given birth to a true immortal could complete it? Killing a true immortal? Generally, great cosmoses that wanted to join the Yang court had just given birth to a true immortal. A true immortal who had just broken through was the weakest true immortal. How could they kill other true immortals? Killing 9 ninth tribulation sub-immortals was extremely difficult. Who would be weaker than a 9th tribulation sub-immortal? How difficult was it to kill them? And 9 of them. As for the requirements to reach reciprocity, that was even more difficult than reaching the heavens. Leave the 3rd condition to me. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. In the primitive universe, only he had a chance of completing this condition. At this moment, Lu Ming had to bear the responsibility. Lu Ming, I'll go with you, Xian Yanqing said. Young master, I'll go too. Chiu Yu followed. I'll go too. I want to go too. Wan Xin, Bubbles, Dandan, Ling Yue and the others said in unison. They all wanted to go with Lu Ming. No, it's useless to have more people. Besides, most of you don't have enough combat power. Even if you go, you won't be able to help. Instead, you'll implicate Lu Ming. Tang Feng shook his head and refused. Xian Yanqing and the others didn't look too good, but they knew that Tang Feng was right. I'll go alone. Lu Ming said. It's not appropriate for you to go alone. If you want to kill the experts of the underworld and obtain battle merits, you have to go to the origin battlefield. The battlefield is complicated and changeable, so you need someone to assist you. This little guy is proficient in array formations, so he can go with you. This little guy is proficient in the power of time and space, so he can also go with you. Tang Feng looked at Dandan and Bubbles. Chapter 52:20. Haha, Lu Ming, I knew it. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to leave me. Being called out by Tang Feng, he laughed heartily. He was so proud of himself that he felt like he was about to float. In the end, Lu Ming didn't refuse. Although he had the Fey Monarch runes, he could only see them. He wasn't very proficient in setting up formations. Bubble, on the other hand, was proficient in the power of time and space. She could come and go as she pleased. She was very useful at critical moments. And this little guy has a special constitution. He can also go with you to train. Then Tang Feng looked at the 10,000 gods. Wan Xin was overjoyed. That's right. After I received the immortal's inheritance, my origin root became very special. I can fuse with the essence blood of different races, causing my origin root to transform. That's possible? This time, not only was Lu Ming shocked, but even Ancestor Thoughtless, Zhang Lin and the other remnant immortals were shocked. Their eyes flashed as they looked at Wan Xin in amazement. To be able to fuse with the essence blood of different races and transform one's origin root was simply heaven-defying. Among the physical body, soul, and origin root, the hardest to transform was the origin root. Treasures that could transform the origin root were also the rarest. Many people's origin root level was fixed after breaking through to the origin realm. Without special opportunities, it was difficult to raise the level of the origin root. Only during the immortal tribulation and the tempering of the immortal tribulation could it transform. Of course, many people died under the immortal tribulation before the transformation was complete. It was unheard of for Wan Xin to have such talent. Lu Ming guessed that it might have something to do with Wan Xin's background. Wan Xin was born from the essence blood of dozens of primordial divine spirits and had the essence blood of dozens of primordial divine realm experts. Now that he had reached the origin realm and obtained the immortal Dao's inheritance, he had such talent. In that case, Wan Xin was indeed suitable to go with Lu Ming. When they went to the origin battlefield, they would definitely face countless races. By absorbing their essence blood, Wan Xin would definitely be able to quickly improve and transform his origin root. Alright, it's decided. As for the others, I'll send you to another place to improve your cultivation, Tang Feng said. Although Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, and the others really wanted to go, they knew that they wouldn't be of much help even if they went. They wanted to say something, but in the end they didn't say anything. Lu Ming, I've also found a few other helpers to go with you. They should be arriving soon, Tang Feng said again. Find a few helpers? Lu Ming was puzzled. Which origins in the primitive universe had the ability to help him? Even peak reciprocity wouldn't be of much help to him, right? Unless it was someone like Gu Changfeng. However, Gu Changfeng had not reached the origin level yet. He's here? Tang Feng looked to the east. Whoosh, whoosh. In the east, 3 streaks of light were rushing over. In the next moment, the light receded, revealing 3 silhouettes. It's them? Lu Ming was greatly surprised. The 3 of them were Anya Rose, Di Jenny and Ling Heng. What surprised Lu Ming the most was that the cultivation of the 3 of them had reached the later stage of the origin level. Moreover, his body exuded a lofty and incomparably vigorous aura. The aura of the immortal path. Anya Rose and the other 2 actually gave off a faint aura of the immortal path. Could it be because of the immortal's molt? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ming hadn't seen Anya Rose since they parted ways in Purple Heaven Cave. When they were in Purple Heaven Cave, Lu Ming felt that Anya Rose was extremely mysterious and had many secrets. In his previous life, Anya Rose was just Xian Yinqing's war pet. According to Xian Yinqing's memory, Anya Rose didn't seem to have any secrets in his previous life. This was very strange. Lu Ming couldn't figure it out. Anyways, Anya Rose had gained a lot in Purple Heaven Cave. Not only did she get an entire Divine Source tea, but she also got the Immortal's molt. Looking at it now, Anya Rose, Di Jenny and Ling Heng had gained a lot from the Immortal's molt, which led to a huge improvement in their cultivation. Their abilities were definitely not weak. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, long time no see. Anya Rose smiled at Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. She was dazzling. It's been a while since we last met. Your cultivations are truly astonishing, Lu Ming said. You're not weak either. Looks like it's really difficult to surpass you. Anya Rose smiled. Di Jenny and Ling Heng stood behind Anya Rose and didn't say anything. However, although Di Jenny didn't say anything when he looked at Lu Ming, there was a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. As for Ling Heng, he was calm. When he looked at Lu Ming and the rest, he gave them a friendly smile. To be honest, Lu Ming wouldn't underestimate Di Jenny and Ling Heng. Their talents were definitely top-notch. Di Jenny, like him, walked out of a small world and rose all the way. He used to compete with him and wasn't much weaker than him. Ling Heng, who used to be ranked first on the myriad race prodigy list, was recognized by 2 origin ancient words. He was definitely extraordinary. Lu Ming, this time, the 3 of them will go to the origin battlefield in Universe Ocean with you. You have to help each other, Tang Feng reminded. Lu Ming and Anya Rose nodded. Although they had some grudges in the past, they were in the past. Now, they were in the same camp and had the same goal, which was to develop the primitive universe. Alright, we'll set off in a month. After Tang Feng finished speaking, he disappeared. Everyone also dispersed. 20 days later, Tang Feng sent Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, Tang Jun and the rest of the talented young prodigies to a place to cultivate so that they could improve their cultivation as soon as possible. During this period of time, the primitive universe was recovering even more rapidly. The cultivation environment was getting better and better. Many people had broken through. For example, Lion, who used to be a peak almighty, had also broken through and stepped into the origin realm. Most importantly, Gu Changfeng had also broken through. Gu Changfeng had a forbidden body. A forbidden body didn't have bad talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been recognized by the forbidden power. Even if he wasn't as good as Tang Feng and Fei Huang, he wasn't too far off. He was older than Tang Feng and Fei Huang, but he was seriously injured and had been in a deep sleep all these years. Fortunately, Lu Ming's 5 elements fairy tears and a bunch of other treasures helped him recover. After going through the test of life and death, Gu Changfeng had an extremely deep understanding of cultivation. He had been trapped by his injuries, so his cultivation hadn't broken through. Now that he had broken through, his cultivation skyrocketed. He broke through consecutively and reached the peak of the Middle Origin realm. He believed that as long as he consolidated for a while, he would be able to break through again. This was a result of good preparation. A month later, Lu Ming and the others officially set off. Tang Feng and Fei Huang brought along Lu Ming and Dandan. Bubbles, Wan Shen, Anya Rose, Di Jianyi, and Ling Heng headed toward the Universe Channel. Of course, Qiuqiu had been following Lu Ming, so he naturally went with them. As soon as they left the Universe Channel, their surroundings were chaotic. They couldn't see anything. It was a blur. Chapter 52:21. As soon as they left the Universe Passage, they were surrounded by chaos. The chaos was surging and each wisp was as heavy as a mountain. Lu Ming and the others had to use the power of origin to resist. I heard that there is chaos outside the universe, and all the universes are suspended in the boundless chaos. I wonder how the universes communicate with each other? Lu Ming asked curiously. Could they travel through the chaos? That was unlikely. He was no longer the ignorant young man he used to be. He knew a lot of secrets. Outside the universe was the boundless chaos. A great universe like the primitive universe was as insignificant as a speck of dust in the midst of the chaos. The distance between each universe was endless. It would take a long time to travel through the chaos. Besides, he also heard that there were all kinds of terrifying chaos thunderstorms and storms in the chaos. Even true immortals would be in danger. Those below the true immortal realm generally didn't dare to enter the chaos. Although there might be rare treasures in the chaos such as immortal weapons and even immortal skills, it was too dangerous. Those below the true immortal realm who entered the chaos rashly would most likely die. The chaos is extremely dangerous. How can you cross it easily? In fact, each universe is connected by a chaos passage, Tang Feng said. Everyone was curious. Chaos passage? Everyone was curious. I went to Yang Court recently and learned a lot of information. I have a rough map of the Universe Sea with me. Let me show it to you so you know what to do. Then Tang Feng waved his hand and a picture appeared in the air. On both sides of the picture were 2 huge light balls. They emitted dazzling light like the ocean or the sun. One of the light balls emitted a hot light, while the other one emitted a cold aura. The light balls on both sides are the Yin-Yang Universe Sea. The one with the hot light is the Yang Universe Sea, and the other is the Yin Universe Sea. Tang Feng explained. In the middle of the 2 universe seas was the boundless chaos space. If the map was divided into 4 directions, east, west, north and south, the Yin-Yang Universe Sea was in the east and west. The center of the Universe Sea, as well as the entire north and south direction, was filled with endless chaos space. There were small light spots in the middle of the Yin-Yang Universe Sea, which looked very small like dust. There were no more light spots in the north and south direction. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense and found that there were more than 70,000 light spots. Some of these light spots were relatively close to Universe Sea, while some were very far away. These light spots are great cosmoses. Tang Feng explained. Senior, in the north and south direction of the map, there is no great universe there. What is there? The myriad deities asked. There is boundless chaos there. Because it is too far away from Universe Ocean, there is no multiverse. After all, the multiverse is too far away from Universe Ocean, so it is not connected to Universe Ocean and cannot comprehend the origin and cultivate. The primordial chaos in those 2 directions is boundless. Not to mention true immortals, even immortal kings wouldn't be able to detect its boundaries. Some people speculate that the primal chaos is boundless. Tang Feng said. Look, these great universes are all connected by tiny threads. This is the chaos channel, said Qin Lai. Tang Feng pointed at the map. Everyone nodded. They had all seen these threads. These chaos channels were opened by the second-ranked great universe in the world of the living, the great universe of chaos. They are connected to other great universes. Through the great universe of chaos flying ships, you can travel between great universes very fast and avoid the dangers in the primal chaos. Look, our primitive universe is located here. In the end, Tang Feng pointed in a direction. It was in the middle of the Yin-Yang Universe Sea. Among them, there was a light spot that was slightly tilted toward the Yang Universe Sea. It was still in the world of the living, but it was close to the border between the world of the living and the world of the living. A long time ago, the experts from both sides would often engage in earth-shattering battles in this area. Therefore, all the dangerous things in the primal chaos have been obliterated. The primal chaos in this area is no longer dangerous. Therefore, many living beings from the Yin world and the Yang world were able to come to our primitive universe. There were not only chaos channels between great universes but also many stations. These stations served as transit platforms. When traveling, one could first go to these transit platforms and then go to the various great universes. There was a transit platform not far away from the primitive universe. Previously, the various great universes first went to this transit platform, then passed through the primal chaos around the primitive universe and went to the primitive universe. Because this place was close to the border between the two worlds, the dangers in the primal chaos had long been obliterated, so there was no danger in traveling through the primal chaos. If it was any other place, even the primal chaos near the universe was full of danger. Most great universes and universe channels were connected to the primal chaos channels outside. Because the primitive universe had been sealed, it had been wandering in the primal chaos, so its universe channel had long been cut off from the primal chaos channels outside. There was a primal chaos channel in the world of the living, and there was a similar channel in the world of the living. Naturally, it was not opened by the great universes of the living, but by the great universes of the Yin world. There are two main types of battlefields in the world of the living and the world of the living. One is the immortal level battlefield, where sub-immortals, true immortals, and even immortal kings fight. Let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about the other type of battlefield, which is the origin battlefield. Look, are there some light spots at the border between the world of the living and the world of the living? Tang Feng said. Everyone nodded. There were about a dozen light spots at the center of the border between the two worlds. However, these light spots were dimmer than the other light spots. These light spots were at the center. In fact, the primitive universe was close to these light spots, but slightly closer to the world of the living. These light spots are the abandoned great universes in the world of the living and the world of the living. After the heart of the universe was shattered and disappeared, it eventually became a battlefield. The dozens of abandoned great universes here are all origin battlefields. As for the immortal level battlefield, it is not at the border between the world of the living and the world of the living. It is somewhere else. You will naturally know when you become a sub-immortal. Tang Feng explained. So that was it. Lu Ming and the others were secretly scared. If the primitive universe lost the heart of the universe, would it also be the battlefield between the two worlds? If that was the case, there would be no chance of a comeback. Your destination this time is one of the universe battlefields. This great universe is very strange. It floated from the primal chaos in the north. It is dead silent and there are no living creatures, but it is very mysterious. No one knows when it was left, but it contains a lot of great opportunities, which attracted countless origin experts from the world of the living and the world of the living. Tang Feng said. Chapter 52:22. There's actually an abandoned great universe in the boundless chaos? Lu Ming and the others were stunned. Even Fei Huang seemed to have heard of it for the first time and she looked curious. The boundless chaos is boundless and mysterious. No one can explore it clearly, so it's normal that there are some strange things inside. In the beginning, the immortal Dao experts of the Yang realm and the Yin realm fought over this abandoned multiverse, and both sides suffered heavy losses. In the end, they decided to seal this multiverse and place it at the border between the two realms as the battlefield of origin. The opportunities contained within were to be explored by the origins of the two realms. Whoever obtains them will have the opportunity. This great universe appeared about a few hundred years ago, and it attracted some top great universes and most of the top experts of the two worlds. Fortunately, this abandoned great universe attracted their attention, so not many experts in great universes entered the primitive universe. Tang Feng explained. Lu Ming and the others were enlightened. No wonder only a few hundred beings of the tens of thousands of great universes of the two worlds entered the primitive universe, and only a few of the top 10 great universes of the two worlds came to the primitive universe. It turned out that they were attracted by this great universe. Although countless origins of the two worlds have explored it for hundreds of years, there are still some opportunities that have not been discovered. There are still a lot of experts stationed there, and it has become one of the most tragic origin battlefields. Shueshenzong is in this battlefield. You must be careful when you enter. Let's go. Tang Feng wrapped everyone with his immortal power, broke through the chaos, and hurried toward the origin battlefield. When they approached the origin battlefield, Tang Feng stopped, and the others from Yang Court came to pick them up. The Yang world and the Yin world had a rule that subimmortals and immortal path beings couldn't easily enter the origin battlefield at the center. Otherwise, it would easily cause a war between the two worlds. There were immortal path beings stationed at the border of the Yang world and the Yin world to prevent the other side from invading. But in fact they couldn't completely guard against it. The main reason was that the border of the two worlds was too long, and the central area was endless and most of it was chaotic space. How could they guard against it? Every once in a while there would be an invasion. For example, the experts of the Yin world lurked in the Yang world and suddenly attacked a certain great universe. Or the experts of the Yang world lurked in the Yin world and attacked a certain great universe of the Yin world. This kind of thing often happened. Otherwise, the primitive universe wouldn't have been attacked by the underworld. The purpose of stationing experts at the border was to prevent a large-scale invasion. This was because the great universes near the border and far away from Universe Ocean were the weakest. They had no ability to resist the invasion of the other party. If I can't kill Shui Shenzong, then so be it. I don't have to force myself. The most important thing is to protect myself. At most, I will kill one more immortal. I believe that it will offset some of the conditions. Tang Feng transmitted his voice to Lu Ming and the others. Then he turned around and left with Fei Huang, disappearing into the chaos. Come with us. They were met by a group of armored soldiers. Their auras were unfathomable. Lu Ming guessed that they should be subimmortal creatures. Lu Ming and the others followed the soldiers and flew towards the origin battlefield in Central Asia. Not long after, a cosmic passage appeared in the chaos. This cosmic passage led to the great universe that floated from the chaos. Go in. According to the agreement signed between the two worlds, those above quasi-immortal are not allowed to enter. Also, this multiverse has been sealed by the immortals of the two worlds. Weapons, talismans, and so on that exceed your cultivation can't be used inside. Origin realm cultivators can only use origin-grade weapons. This is for the fairness of the battlefield to prevent people from killing indiscriminately with true immortal runes. The leading soldier introduced. It seems that the human king's broken sword can't be used. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had lent the human king's broken sword to Tang Feng before, but Tang Feng returned it to him later. Lu Ming originally wanted to give the human king's broken sword to Tang Feng, but he remembered that the human king's broken sword was given to him by the human king. Without the human king's permission he couldn't give it to others. However, this was better. This was the origin battlefield. If they could use true immortal runes, it wouldn't be the origin battlefield. It would clearly be an immortal level battlefield. Seniors, farewell. Lu Ming and the others cupped their fists and then headed towards the cosmic passage. Not long after, they entered an unfamiliar great universe. Feeling the aura that was completely different from the primitive great universe, everyone felt a little complicated. This was their first time entering another great universe. In this great universe they didn't feel any suppression. The main thing was that this great universe was completely dilapidated and withered. If the great universe was compared to living beings, then this great universe was dead. But the primitive universe was alive. Only a living great cosmos would suppress intruders from the outside. A dead great cosmos wouldn't suppress foreign life forms. In front of them was a huge city that protected the cosmic passage behind it. This city was in front of the cosmic passage. It was a place for the living beings of the Yang realm to replenish their supplies. It was enveloped by layers of array formations. The living beings of the Yang realm would return to this city to recuperate or replenish their supplies if they were injured or lacked immortal crystals or elixirs. There were heavy troops stationed in the city, and there were layers of array formations. The experts of the underworld would definitely not be able to kill their way here. It was absolutely safe in this city. Once they left the city, it would be a real battlefield. They would face danger at all times. Everyone walked into the city, intending to understand the situation of this battlefield in detail first before making any plans. The city was very lively. Looking around, they were all living beings from different great universes. There were more than 30,000 great universes in the Yang realm, and there were countless origins. Even if only a small number of people entered this battlefield, the number was still shocking. In the entire universe C, the realm with the most living beings was undoubtedly the origin realm. This was because the lifespan of the origin realm was almost infinite and existed with the universe. Although it was easier to cultivate below the origin realm, their lifespan was still limited and they would constantly die of old age. Above that was the subimmortal realm. Not only was it difficult to cultivate, but it was also filled with danger. It was easy to die under the immortal tribulation. As for immortal Tao living beings, needless to say, they were the least in number. The origin realm had an endless lifespan. Many peak origin realm beings didn't dare to undergo the immortal tribulation and stayed at the peak origin realm. Over the countless years, the number of origins in the entire universe was uncountable. Lu Ming casually scanned with his spiritual sense and discovered more than 100,000 living beings. All of them were origins and many were even peak origin realm beings. And this was only a corner of the city. Peak origin realm beings were equivalent to the master of the heavenly palace. However, there were so many of them here that they were like weeds on the street. It couldn't be helped. This was the origin battlefield. Moreover, it contained great opportunities that attracted countless origins. Chapter 52-23. Moreover, Lu Ming and the others found that most of the creatures were in human form. Perhaps they were not in human form, but they were all in human form. Of course, there were also many who maintained their original appearance. There were all kinds of strange creatures. Lu Ming and the others walked on the street without attracting any attention. On both sides of the street, there were all kinds of small shops selling all kinds of divine pills, divine weapons and materials. Where there were people, there was business. Selling the list of the origins board. I have the list of the World's Monster Genius list and detailed information here. There's also information about some of the top experts in the barren battlefield. Hurry up, hurry up. Suddenly, a shout attracted the attention of Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming and the others immediately became interested. They had just come out of the primitive universe. What did they lack? Information. All kinds of information about the Yang world and the Yin world, all kinds of geniuses and supreme experts. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. They came to a stall. The stall owner was a white-haired old man with a shrewd look in his eyes. Senior, give us a copy of the Origins Board, the World's Monster Genius list, and some information about the experts in this barren battlefield. The myriad god said. 3,000 immortal crystals. The old man said with a smile. 1,000. Lu Ming directly bargained. This was not a secret. They were all things that were widely spread. 3,000 immortal crystals was too expensive. They were not idiots. 28. 1,200. After a round of bargaining, Lu Ming finally won the bid with 1,500 crystals. 3 jade talismans were in the hands of Lu Ming and the others. One jade talisman contained the information about the Origins board. The other jade talisman recorded the 200 monsters on the Origins board of the Yin world. The other jade talisman recorded the information of some of the top experts active in this barren battlefield. Everyone took turns to look. Black Gold Taoist, ranked 221st on the Origins board, good at metal substitutes. Suddenly Lu Ming saw a name. So that old guy is called Black Gold Taoist. He's ranked 221st on the Origins board. No wonder he's so powerful. Lu Ming muttered. In the Supreme Immortal City he had fought Taoist Heijin for many years. In the end, his Genesis techniques had improved and Qiuqiu had caught Taoist Heijin off guard and killed him. Taoist Heijin's battle prowess was extremely strong. Lu Ming's current or future self couldn't do anything to him. At most they could only fight to a draw. It should be noted that in the primitive universe, the other party was still suppressed. If they were in the desolate battlefield, Lu Ming might not be a match for the other party. Of course, if his present and future selves joined forces, things would be different. Lu Ming was confident that he could defeat his opponent. Of course that was in the past. Now that Lu Ming's soul and body had reached the third tribulation, his battle strength had increased. Lu Ming didn't fear Taoist Heijin at all. His cultivation was still too weak. If he reached the peak of reciprocity, it would not be too difficult for him to kill Taoist Heijin. Very quickly, Lu Ming read through all 3 sets of information and memorized them deeply in his heart. The others also read through them. Shueshenzong was ranked 36th on the Yin World's Monster Genius list. If he was placed on the Yang World's Origin list, he would definitely be ranked in the top 100. His strength was far above Taoist Heijin's. With their current battle prowess, it would be very difficult to kill him. And this was under the premise that Qiuqiu was helping them. Qiuqiu had broken through the peak of reciprocity and its battle prowess had skyrocketed. It was already above Lu Ming. If I want to kill Shueshenzong, I must make a breakthrough. Unfortunately, I only have 10 years. Can I do it? Lu Ming pondered and thought of a countermeasure. There were only 3 ways to increase his battle prowess. The first was to make a breakthrough in his cultivation. Once his cultivation reached the peak of reciprocity, Lu Ming was confident that he wouldn't be weaker than Shueshenzong. At that time, if he joined forces with his future self, Qiuqiu and the others, he was confident that he could kill Shueshenzong. The second way was to increase the grade of his Genesis roots to a top-grade Genesis root, or his mastery of his Genesis arts skyrocketed. But the latter two were even more difficult. It was almost impossible to improve in a short time. The conditions given by Yang Ting were not unlimited. They only had 10 years. They had to complete the mission in 10 years. Anya Rose, Di Jianyi, and Ling Heng were also thinking of a countermeasure. Obviously, it was impossible for them to deal with Xue Shenzong with their cultivation. Their mission was to accumulate 3,000 battle credits in 10 years and kill the 3 monsters on the monster ranking of the Yin world. Of the 3 monsters, only Xue Shenzong was named. As for the other 2, as long as they were monsters on the monster ranking, they could do it. 3,000 battle credits were actually easy to accumulate. Killing ordinary origins of the Yin world would allow one to accumulate battle credits. Killing an early origin of origins would give them 1 battle credit. Killing an intermediate origin of origins would give them 2 battle credits. Killing a late origin of origins would give them 3 battle credits. Killing a peak origin of origins would give them 5 battle credits. There were countless origins in the desolate battlefield. It was not difficult to accumulate 3,000 battle credits. What was really difficult was the 3 monsters Xue Shenzong. Kid, it's you. A cold shout interrupted the thoughts of Lu Ming and the others. Dan Ing. Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect to meet Dan Ing here. Obviously, Dan Ing had also come to the desolate battlefield after leaving the primitive universe. Beside Dan Ing, there was a young man with a strong aura that gave people an extremely dangerous feeling. Dan Ing looked at Lu Ming and the others with a cold gaze. His face became a little ferocious as new and old hatred surged in his heart. Back then he was first defeated by Lu Ming and fled in a sorry state. Later he obtained the fragment of the heart of the universe and flew away. Later he learned from the immortal Tao experts of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos that the fragment of the heart of the universe was forcibly drawn back by Tang Feng. Now that the primitive universe's heart of the universe was complete, Tang Feng used it to become an immortal. Hating the house, hating the crow. Every living being in the primitive universe was hated. The fragment of the heart of the universe was his. Those trash in the primitive universe should all die. Kid, you actually came to the desolate battlefield. Good, very good. I will make you die a miserable death. Dan Ying's cold voice sounded. Loser, you think you can do that? Lu Ming responded coldly. Humph, I was suppressed in the primitive universe, but here there is no suppression. How can I lose to you? Dan Ying's killing intent was as cold as a knife. Get out of the way. You are blocking the way. Lu Ming responded coldly. He couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with them. Boom. Next to Dan Ying, the young man burst out with a powerful aura, forming a huge pressure that pressed down on Lu Ming and the others. The pressure was like a mountain. Lu Ming and the others had to circulate their origin source power to counteract the pressure. Danger. Lu Ming felt an extremely dangerous feeling from the young man. It's the brothers Dan Xiong and Dan Ying. Where did those people come from? How did they provoke the brothers? Those 2 brothers are both monsters. The surrounding people were alarmed. They gathered around and discussed in low voices. Dan Xiong 96th on the origin source list. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 52-24. Shan Xiong was a peerless genius ranked 96th on the origin list. Among the younger generation of the Yang realm, he was ranked in the top 30. His combat strength might be even stronger than Xue Shenzong's. No wonder he gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. You want to fight here? The laws of the Yang court state that you're not allowed to kill each other on the battlefield. Do you want to violate the law? Dark Knight Rose said. Who said we're going to fight here? Shan Xiong smiled and retracted his aura, but his eyes were cold. He lowered his voice and said, You can't fight in this city, but once you leave the city, who will know if you die? Will you only think that you died in the hands of the beings of the netherworld? After saying that, Shan Xiong sneered. The rules were dead, but people were alive. Before coming here, Tang Feng had warned them that in the barren battlefield, they not only had to be careful of the beings of the netherworld, but also the experts of the Yang realm. Although the laws of the Yang court stated that they were not allowed to kill each other on the battlefield was chaotic. However, the battlefield was chaotic. If someone was killed, who would know who the killer was? Many people had died on the battlefield in the hands of the beings of the netherworld, but many had died in the hands of the people of the Yang realm. As long as no one saw it, no one would care. A good dog doesn't block the way. Get out of the way. Lu Ming shouted coldly. In any case, the other party wouldn't dare to fight in this city, so why should he give them face? He would talk about it after leaving the city. Humph, you can be arrogant now unless you stay in this city for the rest of your life. Shan Xiong sneered. He wasn't angry, but his eyes were even colder. Scram, can't you hear me, dog? Dandan shouted with an expression that said, Come and hit me if you're unhappy. Shan Xiong was so angry that he almost lost his cool. Let's see how long you can be arrogant. Shan Ning gritted his teeth. In the end, the two brothers retreated. You guys, keep an eye on those people in the primitive universe. Once they leave the city, immediately report it. Not far away, Shan Xiong instructed some experts of the Jade Clear universe. Yes. Lu Ming, I think it's better for us to split up. After a while, Dark Knight Rose suddenly spoke. Dark Knight Rose, what do you mean? Dandan was displeased and glared at Dark Knight Rose. The meaning is very simple. You have offended too many people. When the time comes, you will definitely encounter a lot of resistance. You might even be intercepted and killed. This will be very disadvantageous for us to complete the mission. If we split up, our chances of completing the mission will be higher. Dark Knight Rose said. You want to use us as targets to attract the attention of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos so that you can complete your mission. However, do you think that without us, the few of you can kill Shueshenzong? Dandan said with a gloomy expression. You don't have to worry about that. I have my ways. I'm doing this for the sake of the primitive universe. Our most important task is to let the primitive universe return to the Yang court. Dark Knight Rose smiled. Dandan wanted to say more but was stopped by Lu Ming. Miss Rose is right. If we are ambushed by Dan Ning, Dan Xiong and the others, staying together will be dangerous. If we split up, we can reduce the risk and the probability of completing the mission will be higher. Let's do as Miss Rose said. Lu Ming said. To be honest, what Dark Knight Rose said was exactly what he wanted. He wasn't used to working with people he wasn't familiar with. Moreover, he had some secrets that he didn't want others to know. For example, his future self. If they worked together, it was inevitable that they would be exposed. It was better to split up. He knew that Dark Knight Rose was very mysterious and most likely had many secrets that she didn't want them to know. Therefore, even without the matter of Dan Ning and Dan Xiong, they would most likely find other reasons to split up. Although they had the same goal and were in the same camp, they obviously weren't on the same side. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Ming, I hope you guys take care. To be honest, I still think highly of you. If the primitive universe wants to develop, it will need supreme talents like you. So don't die here. Dark Knight Rose smiled faintly, looking extremely beautiful. She then floated away. Di Jinny and Ling Heng followed closely behind and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Humph, you're just afraid of being implicated by us. You made it sound so dignified. Dandan was very unhappy and couldn't calm down. Let's go. We'll observe in the city for a few days before leaving. Lu Ming said. Dark Knight Rose, Di Jinny and Ling Heng didn't stay in the city. Instead, they headed out of the city. As expected, the people from Jade Clear Great Cosmos didn't monitor the three of them. Where are we going now? Di Jinny asked after leaving the city. With our current strength, we definitely can't kill Shueshenzong. So, let's put the mission aside and raise our cultivation first. It won't be too late to complete the mission after we raise our cultivation. This great cosmos is very ancient and contains many opportunities. I'll perform a secret technique to look for it. After Dark Knight Rose said that, a stone plate appeared in her hand. There were 2 needles on the stone plate. They were both made of stone and looked very ancient. Dark Knight Rose quickly formed seals with her hands and runes entered the stone plate. Suddenly, pictures appeared on the stone plate. They were mysterious and ancient. On the stone plate, the 2 needles kept spinning. Let's go in this direction. Dark Knight Rose led the way. There was a flash of curiosity in Emperor Jinny and Ling Heng's eyes. In their eyes, Dark Knight Rose was very mysterious. She knew many unbelievable secrets. They had already investigated Dark Knight Rose's background. She was born on a remote planet in the universe. Her father was only a godly king and was extremely weak. They also knew about Dark Knight Rose's previous life. She had followed Tang Feng's daughter, Tang Qing. Later on, she had died in battle with Tang Qing and reincarnated. However, even with this identity, she shouldn't know so many secrets. They were sure that Dark Knight Rose had a bigger secret that they didn't know about. This was also the reason why they had always followed Dark Knight Rose. By following Dark Knight Rose, they could obtain many opportunities and raise their cultivation constantly. However, they couldn't obtain anything if they cultivated alone. If it hadn't been for Dark Knight Rose, their cultivation definitely wouldn't have been able to raise so quickly. In a huge courtyard in the city. This was the encampment of Sacred Light Great Cosmos in this city. A large number of origins of Sacred Light Great Cosmos were stationed here or recuperating. Sacred Wushuang was also in the courtyard. He had just received news about Lu Ming and the others. The people of the primitive universe have also entered the barren battlefield. They just gave birth to new immortals. According to the rules, they still have to complete a condition before they can re-enter Yang Court. They are in such a hurry to come here. It most likely has something to do with the mission of re-entering Yang Court. Sacred Wushuang quickly deduced the purpose of Lu Ming and the others' visit. Send someone back to the great cosmos and ask the immortal Tao Patriarchs what the condition is for the primitive universe to re-enter Yang Court. Sacred Wushuang immediately gave the order. Lu Ming, since you have come to the barren battlefield, stay here forever, Sacred Wushuang muttered. Divine Wushuang muttered, a cold killing intent flashing in his eyes. Chapter 52-25. A few days later. Brother Lu Ming, I've been feeling that someone is watching us these past few days. Bubbles sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming and the rest. They should be from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. Don't worry about them. We'll shake them off once we get out of the city. Lu Ming said. After a few days, they had gathered most of the information and walked out of the city gate. Humph, we're finally out of the city? Very good. Outside the city will be your burial ground. In a pavilion, Shan Xiong put down his wine cup and disappeared with Shan Ying in a flash. After a while, Lu Ming and the rest left the city gate. Let's go. As soon as they left the city gate, they turned into a few streaks of light and rushed into the distance. Bubble used the power of time and space to envelop everyone. They seemed to be traveling through time and space, their figures flickering and disappearing completely. Bubble's cultivation had increased greatly and she had also obtained the inheritance of an immortal Tao expert. The power of time and space was extremely mysterious. It helped everyone to travel quickly and could even erase all traces of aura. Damn it! Shan Xiong and Shan Ying chased for a while before they completely lost track of Lu Ming and the rest. They could only return to the city with gloomy faces and send people to keep an eye on Lu Ming and the rest. After shaking off Shan Ying, Shan Xiong and the rest, Lu Ming began to slow down. At the same time, he restrained his aura and spread out his spiritual consciousness to keep an eye on the surroundings. Once they got out of the city, it was the real battlefield. The battlefield was constantly changing and there were hidden dangers all the time. The universe sea was extremely huge and contained tens of thousands of great cosmoses with countless races. There were all kinds of strange races with unique abilities. They could be assassinated or ambushed at any time. If they didn't pay attention, they wouldn't even know how they died. Lu Ming even used the Feather Arch rune. Dandan also turned into his original form. The runes on his tortoise shell flashed as he constantly sensed the existence of array formations. On the battlefield, the most dangerous thing was actually array formations. Many powerful great cosmoses had many origin source experts. They would choose a good place and then set up a terrifying killing array to wait for the prey. Once one stepped into the killing array, even a top expert on the origin list would die without a doubt. For example, even someone like Shan Xiong would die if he stepped into a supreme source grade formation cast down by several hundred peak reciprocity cultivators. Therefore, when roaming the battlefield, one had to be careful at all times and absolutely not enter those formations by mistake. Lu Ming and the others slowed down and flew slowly. The further away they were from the city, the more dangerous it would be, and the more likely they would encounter people from the underworld. Stop! Suddenly, Lu Ming shouted in a low voice. The Pantheon, Dandan, and Bubbles immediately stopped. What did you sense? Dandan asked. His eyes darted around as he observed his surroundings. In the blink of an eye, 36 layers of defensive formations had been set up around him. Nothing? I sensed wrongly. Lu Ming smiled. You rascal, you're always so flustered. You're making me nervous. Dandan heaved a sigh of relief and removed the defensive array formation. The Pantheon of Gods and Bubbles also relaxed. They continued to fly forward. 10 minutes later. Suddenly, whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly attacked. His spear was like lightning as it pierced into the void. The void exploded and a miserable cry was heard. Then a figure appeared, pierced by the spear. He struggled on the spear with a face full of fear. This was a late-stage reciprocity expert. His body seemed to be transparent as he kept twisting, emitting a cold aura. An expert from the underworld. Dandan, the Pantheon of Gods, and Bubbles were shocked. There was actually an expert from the underworld hiding beside them, but they had no idea. If the other party suddenly assassinated them, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Void Race. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly as information about the Void Race appeared in his mind. The Void Race came from the Void Great Cosmos. They were ranked 9th among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the underworld. This was a top great cosmos which showed how terrifying the Void Race was. In the Void they could merge with the Void and mainly assassinate people. The various races in the Yang realm were very fearful of the Void Race. The experts of the Void race could often sneak into the territory of the Yang realm and assassinate the experts of the Yang realm. It was impossible to guard against. Once targeted by the Void race on the battlefield, it was very dangerous. The expressions of the pantheon of gods, Dandan and Bubbles, were a little ugly. They did not expect to be targeted by the Void race as soon as they arrived on the battlefield. How did you find me? The expert of the Void race was not dead yet. He kept struggling and making disbelieving sounds. Among Lu Ming and the others, Lu Ming's cultivation was the highest, but he was only at the late-stage reciprocity realm, the same as him. Among those at the same level, there were not many in the entire cosmic sea who could discover him before he made a move. Sorry, there's no need to explain to you, Lu Ming said coldly. With a shake of his spear, a terrifying power erupted. The expert of the Void race screamed as his body and soul were destroyed. Lu Ming, you discovered him the first time you stopped? Dandan asked. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. Strictly speaking, it was his future self who had discovered him. The soul of his future self was extremely powerful, even stronger than his current self's soul. Moreover, he had cultivated various soul secret techniques, so his spiritual senses were extremely sharp. Not long after the Void race targeted them, they were discovered by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming stopped for the first time and did not make a move because he was not confident that he could kill him in one strike. The Void race merged with the Void and came and went like lightning. If he could not kill them in one strike, it would be difficult to kill them. Therefore, Lu Ming pretended that he had sensed wrongly. His goal was to numb the opponent and lower his guard. Then he would suddenly make a move and hit the target. You kid, you even lied to us. Dandan pursed his lips. If I didn't lie to you, how would I kill the enemy? Lu Ming smiled. At this moment, a jade flew out of Lu Ming's body and absorbed a wisp of black light. A number appeared on the jade, 3 battle merits. This jade was given to each of them by the experts of Yang Court before they entered the battlefield. As long as they killed someone from the netherworld, the jade would absorb a wisp of the opponent's soul imprint and then calculate the corresponding battle merits. Early stage origin realm, 1 battle merit, mid stage origin realm, 2 battle merits, and late stage origin realm, 3 battle merits. As for peak origin realm, 5 battle merits. The experts of the Void race were rewarded with 3 battle merits. Of course, some of the more famous geniuses of the netherworld or some of the more famous experts would be rewarded with more battle merits. These experts were recorded in the jade. Once they were killed, the corresponding rewards would be given. How stingy. A late-stage origin realm expert is only rewarded with 3 battle merits. Dandan pursed his lips. In Yang Court, battle merits were good things and had endless magical uses. It was similar to the merit points that many large factions obtained. Battle merits could be exchanged for some treasures in Yang Court. Battle merits were divided into individual battle merits and universe battle merits. Individual battle merits were the battle merits obtained by an individual. Universe battle merits were the total battle merits of all the creatures in the entire universe.